how can I create that? And so, we had already had our schedules like that. I mean, honestly, my parents know when they want to create family vacations, they better give me a year's notice. Okay. Like, right, we talked about it. Like, I don't, and okay, well, Amy, okay, we want to do this, but we need to get that scheduled way ahead of time because I'm living intentionally, and so I can't just react. But what I will tell you guys is during this reflection time, and I've had seasons where I've done this and seasons where I haven't, because we always fall short sometimes, right? And but the best season is when every Friday I scheduled an appointment with myself. So it wasn't just like once a year I was doing it, but I would literally schedule it. And so I would have that. It would actually, my husband would laugh because it would pop up on my phone. So we do our calendar. He's like, "What's planning and petty?" I'm like, "Well, that's what I plan, and I do my petty." Well, I didn't do it like a pedicure every Friday, but like once a month or something, I would do that. I look forward to that time with myself to go sit at Panera, eat lunch by myself, I review kind of my week or my month. And so I wouldn't do it like every Friday, but I would intentionally do that. But here's what I found is creating the schedule is, well, this is why this is helpful, because how many of you get frustrated? How many of you are like, "Oh, I'm overwhelmed," or "Oh, my schedule," "Oh," right? And so one of the things I would encourage you to do during your reflection time today is write down everything that's frustrating you. Everything that's frustrating you, get it out of your head and write it down, so that you can then come up with solutions while you're here and you're not in the midst of the chaos, of life. So one of the things I found over and over again, because I will tell you again my Enneagram number, but based on that, I create a lot, right? There's never, my husband's like, "Okay, we need to create some time," but I fill my life with things I love, but I don't create a lot of that margin. And that's something I've had to learn over the years of how to create space for stuff, for people, and for things that are important. So with sitting down with myself, I realized, okay, how can I still accomplish a lot but still create that margin? So for me, I am very scheduled Monday through Wednesday. So Monday through Wednesday, I don't create a lot of margin. I have a very tight schedule Monday through Wednesday. So sometimes if you call, it's hard to answer, or doing that like Amanda was working, she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot Mondays, or you had this and this," okay? So I create a lot of that. So for example, Wednesday mornings, I would have a networking thing that would start at 7:30 early, and then I would actually, like right now I'm doing a leadership program, and I do that on Wednesday evenings. So it's a long day on Wednesday, but I know that on Thursday I've now created space, and that's when my mom group is, and that's when I can do stuff more with the kids, and I don't have as tight of a schedule, and I have more flexibility. If I want to do coffee or lunch with somebody, I'm proactive. I don't wait for them to tell me their schedule when they can do it. I'm like, "Hey, how's Friday?" So some of you know, like when I try to create things, a lot of times it's on Friday, I'm not thinking about it. See, I already know that, yeah, I want to make that time for girlfriends. But just because it's, we could schedule it within, because I have time for that. So does that make sense? So you got to just look for what ticks with you and what's going to kind of make sense. All right? So, and this is why we have this weekend. You can come through, ask questions. But let me just tell you why I think it's so important to have these things, and what I have discovered kind of working with people over the years. All right, here's two things that I have, well, first let me say this. When you look back at 2019, you're going to be able to look back and you're going to say, my year unfolded based on these three things. And every year, this will never change. Every year, when you reflect back and you look at what your life has looked like, it's going to be based on these three things. Number one is the people you associate and hang out with. Number two, the experience you have. And three, the books you read. So when you look back on 2019, you're going to go, okay, I can really say my year panned out this way because of who you were hanging out with that year, the experiences that you had that year, and the books that you read that year. Every year, those are going to be the three biggest influencing factors that shape your year. So I wanted to give you three books that have supported my strong passion and belief of creating schedules and creating kind of these rituals in your life and habits. So number one is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. That was the one I mentioned last night. We'll have the first one that I'll read. The second one is The Power of Habits by Duhigg. And the third one is currently one I haven't finished yet. It's a newer one. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. So these are all books that have really helped support a lot of the things I'm talking about with all that.
Can you repeat 1 and 2?
Yes. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Atomic Habits. Sorry, that was the third. The Power of Habits by Duhigg was the second one. And then Atomic Habits by James Clear is the third one. So some of the times, you guys, when we're setting goals, and right now with that leadership class that we're doing on Wednesday night, it's all about creating habits and supporting that and being accountable, like Kate, you talked about. And so we're talking about, hey, you have to be accountable with these habits, else you're probably not going to follow through with them. And so we start out the class every Wednesday saying people don't rise to the level of their goals, they fall to the level of their habits and their systems. People don't rise to the level of their goals, they're going to fall to the level of their habits and their systems. So think about it, when life happens, you're not going to, it's not going to be about your goals you're going to fall to, you're going to fall to those habits and those systems. So regardless of what is happening in my life, those habits I've already created, they're going to keep going. They're not going to stop because of life. And that's what separates most people. Successful people are going to still have a standard of habits and those rituals where other people will go, because this happened, I no longer can do that. Think about the example of my husband, him traveling. I go, oh, we can't do Tuesday nights now because you're traveling, right? That's what most people, honestly, they would stop doing that habit and that schedule because of that. So we don't hear the successful people going, I don't have time, right? That's just not what you're really hearing people are talking about. So I want to just really share with you why people have good intentions. Why do we all start out with these great intentions, but then we end up not following through with them? Okay, there's 3 reasons why people are not following through with those things. Okay, number 1 is because we focus on the what, but we don't understand the how. We're focusing on the what. Okay, I know what I want. Sure, that's easy to figure out, but I don't really understand how to get there, right? How to make this happen. Think about all of us in this room. We all probably have some similar goals. Probably have some health goals or some relationship goals, financial goals, spiritual goals, to do that. I mean, nobody's probably saying, you know what? My goal is to have really high blood pressure this year. Or, you're probably not going, I really want to double my debt this year. It's probably not going to be your goal. Or, I want to eat a box of donuts every week. Okay, maybe what you want, it may not be, okay, what's your goal. Or, when people get married, think about it. People are not going, you know what? Let's give this thing a try for about 5 years. 5 years, don't work out, we're just get divorced. I mean, you're not thinking that way on your wedding day, right? When you're saying your vows, that's not how you're going into it. So I love what James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits. He says, winners and losers generally have the same goals. Successful people and unsuccessful people have the same goals. Think about it. Beginning of each season in sports, what does the coach say?
Win.
We're going to win. We're going to win the championship. Yeah,
I do sports things.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are going to love sports stuff. Now you don't know why, right? Going about that, okay? So there's no team. Like, what if I was a coach and you were as a sports team? I'm like, all right, guys, this year, all right, gals, we're going to win about 3 games this year. We're gonna just try to make it to the playoffs. That's inspiring. That's really exciting, right? No. So how is it that every coach and every team is going to start out with the same goal to win, to take the champion? But only, right, a few get to that last level. Okay, so why is that? Here's the mistake that we make. We say, I want to change the results, I want to lose the 20 pounds, say, for example, but the problem is we need to change our systems, and then we'll change the results. Stop trying to change the results. You're not going to change the results. The only way to get different results is you change your systems, and then the results are going to happen. So that was number 1. Why do we not succeed? Number 1, we want to focus on the what, but we don't necessarily understand the how. And number 2, the second reason people tend to fail and give up on their goals earlier is because we don't see progress fast enough. We live in a society that everybody wants it yesterday. You mean I can't, Amazon Prime, baby, I better get it tomorrow. You mean I cannot have it by tomorrow on my doorstep? But do you remember what we talked about? Uphill. Everything worthwhile is uphill. The relationships, your calling in your life, your friendships, that is not going to be easy. That does not happen overnight. I know the world tells you it does, but that's a big fat lie. It doesn't. It's going to take time, right? You go to the gym on January 1, it's like packed, right? You're like waiting for a machine, okay? 20 minutes wasted time. But do you know that 92% of people, by Valentine's Day, they're done? You mean to tell me that on January 1, you write out that for 52 weeks you're committed to something, but by week 6, you give up? But 92% of people, that's exactly what they do. So you'll pull in on February 14th and you'll get the front row spot. You'll walk in the front door. Because most people will give up, right? But not us. That's not what we want to do. So you could, leave here and you're like, all right, I'm going to create these habits, Amy. And here's what happens. We get frustrated, right? Because we have these good intentions and we set out to do it. And so let's say, for example, you're like, okay, I want to pay off debt. So I have $35,500 worth of debt. So my goal is to pay that off. And so you create a habit of not going to Starbucks. I'm not going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to save money. And so by the end of that first month, you do. You look back and you're like, wow, I saved $100 because I didn't go to Starbucks. And then you go back and you look at your bank, and now you have $35,400. And so what happens? We're like, that didn't even make a dent in this huge number. So we wrongly conclude and think that those small, good decisions didn't matter. But they do. They'll add up over time. But that is why most people give up so quick before they're going to do it. So the good decisions don't really move the needle. And if the bad decisions don't matter, you miss the truth of what's truly impacting your life in massive ways. So our life is truly the sum total of all the small decisions that we make. So who you are today is a sum of all the decisions that you've made along the way so far. It matters over time. So you probably looked at somebody in their life and they're crushing it, right, with an area of their life, and maybe you admire that, and you're like, gosh, how are they doing that? They didn't get there all at once. It happened over time. So you got to know it's a long game, right? Like we talked about, the infinite, right? You're not just playing to win today, it's playing for the long term. And I truly believe that I've found, one of the things I love in getting women together and working together on things is we all have different strengths. We all have different things we can pull out of each other. And we should say, what is that gift? And how can I take that gift and make you better? Right? And how can you take your gift and make me better? That is what we should be creating in our tribe of women. Yes? So my number one strength is futuristic, which means, again, I'm a big visionary. So I can help people, I want to help people get a bigger vision for their life. And so what I have found is, although that comes naturally to me, I realize that a lot of people have a hard time thinking about tomorrow. And more importantly, thinking about 10 years from now. But I want to tell you to think about 10 years from now. And if you were to fast forward 10 years from now, what would that person, the 10-year version of you, thank yourself for doing today? And I want to teach my kids that. I want to teach them that what you do today does matter. Because it's crazy to think that my oldest will be graduating high school in 10 years. Like, that's insane to think about. So what she's choosing even today is going to matter. So who is she going to thank herself? Or when she leaves the household, as a mother, how am I going to say, man, okay, I am so grateful that I chose to invest that time, or to have them, read the book, or say the affirmations, or, do those things and invest in them, or take that time and go, okay, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to take time here. And that was hard for me, and I failed last year, let me tell you. My goal to create the date day with my child, I actually scheduled that in 2018, and I failed miserably. And so I had to adjust that for this year, okay? Because time invested in one area is what? Time invested away from another area, right? So I had to say, what can I remove to then make space for this in my life, okay? So that was the second. So why do we have good intentions but fail so often? We focus on the what, we don't understand the how, we see the progress, we don't see the progress fast enough. And the third thing is our distorted identity sabotages our success. Our distorted identity of who we are believing we are sabotages our success. Raise your hand if you've ever failed before. Okay? I've already shared a couple of mine, right? I've already heard it. Okay, a couple of mine. I remember the first time we were in our mom's group and I said something and I was like, oh, gosh, man, I just lost it. I just yelled at my kids last night. Everyone was like, oh, you yelled at your kids? Yes! It was like a great moment right? Because sometimes we feel like we have just failed, or a horrible mom, or a horrible leader, or a horrible wife, right? All those things. And so we've all fail. And so we have to understand that it's okay, and every day we can not only start over and make the choices, that we can start over each day. It's a new day to do that. So most of us don't live up to our own expectations, and that sabotages reaching our potential because we tell ourselves we don't feel qualified enough. We don't feel like we're qualified enough to do it. And so this is how it may play out in your life. You may go, I'm just always late. It's just who I am. That's just always how I've been. Or I'm not good with money. So, I just, I'll go shopping. It's just how I am, right? It's just how I am. It's just how I've always been. Or, I'm just not organized. I'm just not organized. It's just how I've always been. Okay? It's just, right? Like you're claiming that identity about yourself. But here's what happens. This is why this matters so much. An unhealthy identity creates unwise habits. An unhealthy identity creates unwise habits. And then those unwise habits, right? Because you've told yourself, I'm always late, or I just can't ever, get this done. I never reach my goals, or whatever that is. And so you actually do the things that are going to make you not do it because of what you told about yourself. So then these unwise habits now that you have in place reinforce that unhealthy identity. So do you see how it's like a vicious cycle? Mm-hmm. So the unhealthy identity gives you the unwise habits, and so then you're doing the unwise habits, so it reinforces the unhealthy identity, and so now you're just in this place going around and around and around. So we don't see ourselves in a certain way, and therefore we don't live a certain way. So if we don't see ourselves a certain way, we can't live a certain way. So it starts with that. So I've kind of been encouraging you guys to start with the do. Before you start with the do, start with the who. Who am I going to show up to be this year? Who do I want to show up to be in my life? So at the end of my life, it's not just about, oh my gosh, I accomplished these things, but how did I make people feel when I was around them? Like, who was I? Who was I as a mom? Who was I? And we have a little exercise tomorrow, and we're going to dig deeper with that. So, but if you want to say,
we don't see ourselves in a certain way,
we don't live a certain way. Yeah. So if we don't see ourselves a certain way, we're not going to live that way. So ask yourself, as you're embracing your reflection time, who do I want to become? Who is it that I want people to describe me as? Think about that. I always think about that. I'm like, when I'm not around, and I have friends talking about me, how would they describe me? Right? And not because it's what they think about me, but I want to know who am I showing up to be and how people are receiving that. Because if I don't even think about that and I'm just showing up, okay, but if I'm intentionally going, who do I want to show up to be? And I take that time in the morning to have quiet time, and I'm reviewing those priorities, and who do I want to show up as a mom? And I failed miserably this past year again. Once again, I just keep making mistakes, don't I? Right? But I was driving the girls to dance on a Tuesday, and somebody was texting me about something work-related, and so I was like getting super annoyed because they kept talking in the background. I'm like, hey, lady, hello, you see I'm trying to, and I was not texting and driving, but on Dixie, right, you have stoplights, and so every time I was trying to respond to this text, and then, I was getting frustrated because, sometimes you text something and then it disappears, and you've already been texting it, and right? So that's what happened. So all of a sudden I find myself snapping and yelling at these annoying kids in the back seat, right? Like, can't you clearly see I'm trying to text somebody, right? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That I didn't write down I wanted to be short-tempered, frustrated, yelling mother. That's not who. Wait a minute. Who do I want to show up as a mother, right? Wait a minute. Where's the joy? Where's this fun mom that I want, right? And so sometimes, as I've done this, I'm like, wait a minute. Before I had kids, and I envisioned that mom I wanted to be, who was that person? Before I stepped into that marriage, and I would think about and daydream about the type of wife I wanted to be, who was that person? And sometimes we're like, wait a minute, that's not who I'm being. Or, I really wanted this leadership position, but now I'm in that position and I'm complaining about the responsibility. Wait a minute, we thought you wanted that, right? And so we've got to really catch ourselves with who before the do. It's really important. Okay. So when you're looking and you're asking yourself, who do I want to be? Think not just right now, but also long term, because you will step into that of who you envision yourself being. So a few of mine, I wrote down as I want to be passionate about life. I want to be generous. I want to add value to others. I want to be an influencer. I want to be strong in my faith. I want to be a trailblazer. I want to love my family. I want to be a servant leader. And I want to inspire others to be their best. So I hope, so that's my accountability to me. Because if people are talking about me and they're not saying some of that, then I'm not being authentic to who I'm truly wanting to be in this life. Yes? Okay, questions? Questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
I feel like, I know it's a growth thing, and I like that you said that it's like long-term, and Lisa confirmed that it is a life journey. So I feel like a lot of the time I'm beating myself up because that will happen, and I'm like, oh wait, like reframing my mind, and it's like, you know, that self-talk you do, but I feel like that happens a lot to a point where I don't feel joyful because I feel like I'm like constantly tug of war in my head. So is there like, I don't know, I guess like any advice you would give in regards to like not feeling like joyful, like you're present because you are battling like the old habits or the old person that you used to be and the person you're trying to become?
I think it's a process. I think that's the whole journey that because you don't change overnight. And I think why I believe so strongly in creating this morning routine is because we all have those battles, right? Like how many of you have ever felt depressed before? You know, how many of you have ever felt like you're sucking at every area of your life? You know, like I think if we all were just more authentic and real, that like that's normal. And so instead we don't share those things, and so then we're going, oh my gosh, I'm the only one who feels this way. No, we all do. And that is why we need to be better at supporting each other and encouraging each other, because we tear ourselves down enough. That's why that exercise we did yesterday, we got emotional. Because we're not saying those things to ourselves. We're not saying, you're loved. You are enough. I'm proud of you. We're saying, oh my gosh, you suck. You're horrible. So I want you to catch what you're saying to yourself. And if somebody was saying that to you, they were saying the same thing to your child, are you kidding me? I would rip someone's head off. If somebody was saying to my child, you're never good enough. Really? That's where you are in life right now? Ugh. Right? I'd be like, how dare you talk to them? It was funny, the first time that showed up in my life that I realized that was in college. I saw my friend be very hurt. And then later on that year, I was really hurt by somebody that did something. And my reaction was totally different. Like when they hurt my friend, I was like, I mean, you never saw this side of me. I was like, how dare you? You will not do this to my friend. I mean, it was not okay. And then somebody did something actually even worse to me. And I couldn't like defend myself. Like I was like not sticking up for myself. You know what I mean? So it's so easy for us to say, that is not okay to say to my child. That is not okay for someone to treat you like that. But we're treating ourselves like that. So if we're treating ourselves like that, we're going to give people permission. And if we're having children watch us, right? Because it doesn't even matter if you don't say it out loud. If you're thinking it in your head, this is the problem. You're not probably saying it out loud. You're saying it in here over and over and over again. And remember what I just said, that unwise, that unhealthy image of what you're saying, it's coming out in who you're showing up as. You don't have to speak it. Your kids are going to see it. Your spouse is going to see it. Your friends are going to, right? They're going to see it. So watch. What is that voice? What is the wheel over and over and over again? And I think it's just creating in that and saying, no, you know, cancel. It's like watching that video, that I Am Awesome, the one we played right before, taking that stuff like that, guys. And that's what I'm saying is like, you can't just sit around and wait for it to just happen. You have to be proactive and say, I'm going to watch that video every day. I'm going to watch that video every day and remind myself, I am awesome. I am enough. I am loved. I am called from the highest. Like, you see? So it's being proactive with that. It's a daily battle. And I think when we approach it and think, I'm going to just fix this, and one day I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to deal with it. No, you're going to deal with it probably for a very long time. I think the only difference is, as you get better, is you deal with it faster. So 10 years ago, what would have stopped me in a situation, if I were to deal with that same situation today, I would pivot in 5 minutes, okay? But I wasted 5 years of my life, you guys, so hurt, so broken, and so painful because of what somebody else did. And I look back now and I go, man, that's a regret. That's a regret because you know who was robbed from that? Not only me, but my family. You know, it was robbed because I allowed, it wasn't their fault, I allowed that. I allowed to say something that was a lie and believe it in my identity and then let that show up. So I just say, you guys, it's a journey, and we gotta encourage each other. You know, like I talked about at the end. And not only do you need to say it to yourself, but we need to say it to each other, and not be afraid. You know, and I think as women sometimes it's so funny because I've been very blessed in an environment in my career that I'm around women that are very confident. And it's a very unique situation because they're very successful, but they're also very kind and loving. And that's not always what you see in very high-level successful women. And so because of that, we are very easily to affirm each other, and it's not weird. And so my husband actually commented because we were on a company trip, and so we came down and we probably spent all 10 minutes affirming each other and all this stuff. And then we had just come from we were like on a trip with some people that were like not from that. And he goes, man, we got back to our room later and he's like, it's so different. Like when we're like, all you guys like compliment each other and like, you know, you build each other up. And he's like, the other women don't do that.
They don't even oftentimes understand it, or they see it as a weakness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the competition.
Right.
Instead of,
It's that comparing, competition, or if I compliment you, somehow it's going to make me look bad, or if you're successful, then somehow I'm less than, versus saying, no, we are better together, and let's celebrate you, and let's celebrate me, and, you know, and being able to do that. And so I think we've got to create that. You know, that's not going to just happen automatically. It's creating that tribe and being that. So.
But I think oftentimes also it gets misread. So I think in addition to, for some women to see it as a weakness, I oftentimes feel like they look for another purpose, or they're just not used to meeting a person like that.
Sure.
So they get uncomfortable or suspicious, or they just sort of retrieve and don't even want to know you. And it's very strange at times because it's not who I am.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think you guys, if I were to draw like a circle, and then another circle around that, and then another circle around that, and another circle. So remember how I said I collect people? There's a smaller circle, and then that circle gets bigger, and then that circle gets bigger, and then that circle, right? Your inner circle, you gotta be very careful, right? So it goes back to what shapes your year. So you don't spend equal time with everybody in your life. So, you know, you put like, you know, I know Joe and I have talked about this, but we were both in a season that we were very intentionally about praying for certain type of friends. And it was in that season that I was coming out of that pain, and I was very hurt by people, and she had gone through something similar. And so, you know, it was a friendship that was brought together, and now she's in that inner circle. So you can choose and pray about creating that, right? And so and I don't, you know, I'm not, and that's great. I would love for everyone to think that I'm their best friend, but that doesn't mean they're my best friend, right? Okay, that's okay, right? But it's going to be, right? Here's the inner circle, and then I have other people in this, and then that, and then that, and then that. Does that make sense? So, but that inner circle, you guys, you got to fill each other up and lift each other up. That is your, right, absolutely, absolutely. I had a friend message me yesterday. She lives in Dallas. She actually was going to possibly come, but then her in-laws were coming, but she messaged me this awesome message, and I have a lot of people that, you know, were messaging me great things. We've been praying. I was actually thinking about that in my quiet time today. Like, I am so grateful, you know, that I have some amazing women in my life that are supportive and encouraging. And so I have to focus on that and not focus on some of the others that maybe aren't. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's that, and let's create that inner circle. All right, yeah, I think we're done, you guys. So we are going to stop, and I think I'm going to try to run to the bathroom really quick before we go to the next one. So again, if you, for your third class, you can stay in here for leadership, or you can go next door for the parenting. Okay, so everybody just grab this out because we're going to go through that in a little bit. Okay. is a leader in the room? My goodness, right? Every single one of us are leaders. And so you're leading. What is leadership? Leadership is influence. So you're all influencing some sphere in your life. And so maybe you're even influencing multiple spheres in your life. So you are a leader in some capacity. So what I wanted to talk about was two different things today regarding leadership. This was, out of everything this weekend in the planning and the preparation, this was the hardest part to figure out. Because leadership is so broad, and there's so many different ways we could kind of go about and unfold this. And so I really asked myself a lot, what would add value? And I went to some friends that are leaders I admire also, and I said, what would you want as a leader? What do you think would add the greatest value? And so there's two things I want to talk to you about. The first one is, who do we need to lead first as leaders? Ourselves. We cannot effectively lead others well until we start with ourselves. So the first part, we're going to have kind of two parts. So the first part is, how can I effectively lead myself? And then secondly, how can I then lead others well? So let's start with ourselves. The first thing I would say that's important to know if you truly want to be a great leader is that there's a price tag. Yes, that's true. There's a price tag to leadership. There's a price tag to leadership. It's why a lot of people may want to be great leaders, but this is what stops a lot of people from actually executing it. So what do you think that price tag of a great leader is?
Sacrifices. Time.
Self-discipline.
Pressure.
Self-discipline is the biggest price tag of leadership. Because the greatest leadership challenge is actually leading ourselves. It's easy for me to get up here and say, okay, you guys, this is what you're going to do to be a great leader. Right? How many of you have done that? You can go tell other people, but then actually doing the same stuff you're encouraging other people to do is your greatest challenge. It is that self-discipline. It's easier to teach what we know versus live what we know. True? It's easier to teach people, so just think about the things you've already learned today. To go teach that to people is not hard. But for you to do it and live it out when you get home and you're not in a setting like this, where you're feeling inspired and you're feeling committed and you're feeling motivated and you have the energy of people around you, on a day-to-day basis, when you are looking at yourself and you and you and you and you, right? You're going to have to dig deep to do that. Because if you want to live an intentional life, how many of you would say it with me, everything worthwhile is uphill. Everything worthwhile. So it comes to a point, so when you make the decision and you decide, and then you stand in that decision, you're not expecting it to be easy, because you've already decided the things that matter most in life, the things that are going to give me the most fulfilling life, are going to be the things that are the hardest. They're going to be the most challenging. So, there is nothing in your life that's quick and easy. You have to fight for the life that you want. It doesn't come wrapped in a cute little box. It's something you're going to have to really create. Someone once said, I've worked my whole life to become an overnight success. Right? We see that all the time. We see people, we think they're an overnight success. And that's impossible. We have a great video we're going to show tomorrow about that. But everything revolves uphill. The problem is we have downhill habits. So we have uphill hopes and dreams, but we have downhill habits. So the only way to go uphill is with self-discipline. The only way to have continued success is self-discipline. Our greatest challenge as a leader is keeping others climbing, right? Because we're painting this vision, we can paint this picture, we can help them dream and create this vision for their life, but then what? They're going to have to climb themselves. You're not going to want to pull them uphill, right? I mean, how challenging is that if they got to get on your back, and now you've got to not only self-discipline yourself, motivate yourself up the hill, but now you have this heavy person on your back, right? If we were sprinting down the hallway, could we move faster if we were just running or if you had somebody on your back? And so sometimes as leaders, the hardest part of leading then becomes, I've got to not only motivate me, but I've got to motivate these other people to buy into this concept and also, go uphill. The challenge is we don't, and I will tell you guys that that being the greatest challenge, like when people will say, what is the most challenging thing as a leader, is because anybody can lead, because a lot of times here's what happens. Like if you are, how many of you have ever been like in a management position? Okay, so you're working somewhere and so you're responsible for a group of people, and so here's the challenge, right? You got promoted a lot of times to that position because you were really good at whatever you did prior in your previous position. So you got good at that, and then now you're promoted to now oversee and teach other people to do that. But that skill now is completely different of what it's going to take to be successful in that role, because now it's just not about you executing, it's about you having other people execute. So that is the challenge, and I would tell you that I don't want to carry anybody on my back. Those people that you got to carry on your back, they will exhaust you. It will rob you of your joy. The only energy I want to put towards those people is running the other way. Like, I cannot. You will drain me, okay? And do that. So, but here's what a lot of people do, is they don't want to climb. Those people don't want to climb. They want to coast to success. They want to coast to success. They think it's like the lottery, hoping something wonderful is just going to happen. It will not. The challenge is that we don't mind climbing uphill for 3 or 4 days, but then we want to take a break. Like, right? Like, oh, I worked so hard to get to this goal, and whew, I'm exhausted. I need a break. And so what happens is then that what people don't understand is, like, if you're going uphill for 3 or 4 days, and then you take that break, you've lost those 3 or 4 days. And you're never going to get it back. And so then what happens is you never create momentum, and you never actually create and see the progress that you're trying to create. So it's faster downhill than it's uphill, right? Is it easier downhill or uphill? Easier downhill. But as leaders, we're choosing the high road, right? We're choosing the high road. One of the things that's most important is I want to teach my kids how to become leaders. And I embrace that with them. Because why? I want them to be an influencer, because that's what leadership is. And that's what we want. Do you want to be influenced, or do you want to be the influencer? You're going to be on one side of that. I had a mentor once say to me, it takes so many of us doing so little to make, it takes so many of others doing so little to make so few of us look so good. Think about that. It takes so few doing so little that it makes so few of us doing good. So most people, when they meet someone who has had success, they want to know the secret or something that made them be successful. You guys ready? Right? How many of you have ever done that, right? You see someone successful and you're like, tell me something. Give me, right? I want to learn something, right? What is that? What is that secret? About to tell you this one word. It's very underrated. It's not sexy. You ready? Consistency. Consistency. Successful people do consistently what others do occasionally. Think about anything in life. Think about an athlete. Athletes, the top athletes are better because they do something more consistently than the next person. Take a business, I don't care what it is, you find the top people, and whatever that business is, they're doing something more consistently that others are choosing to only do occasionally. That's it. That is the key. So self-discipline. I want to give you 5 quick things about self-discipline, since this is the difference maker. Number 1, the first thing you need to know about self-discipline is that self-discipline will do for you is help you go uphill. So if we want to live a worthwhile life, like we've all established, and we know that that worthwhile life is going to be uphill, the only way to live the worthwhile life uphill is to go uphill, and the only way to get uphill is using self-discipline. No one's going to carry you uphill. And like I said, the people that want you to do that, there are no free rides. Is that true? There's no such thing as accidental achievement. It's not going to just happen. So self-discipline is the difference between good actions and good intentions. It's the bridge in between to go from good intentions to then the good actions. So here's the question I want you to write down and ask yourself. How is my attitude towards self-discipline? What do I truly believe about self-discipline? How is my attitude about self-discipline? What are my true beliefs? Not what you think you know you should say. We all know the right thing to say. But what is your honest internal attitude toward self-discipline? And here's how I want you to think about it. Is it a tunnel or is it a bridge? It's either going to be one or the other, a tunnel or a bridge. You're either always going through something, tunnel, or you're going to something, the bridge. A tunnel is heavy. It's always what I'm going through. You hear people saying this. I hear this all the time. It's their excuse of why they're not succeeding. I'm going through this. This is happening. I'm going through this. I'm going through this. So that's your honest, real attitude about self-discipline. You're not self-disciplined because you're going through a tunnel all the time. You're constantly going through stuff. Here's the real deal. Whether you're a leader or not, successful, unsuccessful, guess what? We all go through stuff. It's your attitude towards it. Are you focused that you're going through this tunnel? Are you focused on the bridge because you have a destination and you're headed somewhere? So if self-discipline is a heavy thing for you, if you feel like it's hard, but if self-discipline is a journey for you, it's going to be easy. So it all is how your attitude is. Again, the tunnel versus the bridge. Are you going through it? I hope to get there. That mindset, that I hope to get there, that's a tunnel. Or I have a vision and this is where I'm going, that's a bridge. So that is how I would look for at yourself and also leading others and ask them, how is your attitude towards self-discipline? And that concept is a lot of times how I discern, again, dang, if this person's going through a tunnel all the time, they're going to want to be on my back. I'm going to have to carry her uphill. Oh my goodness, I can't. I don't have time. I don't have energy to do that, and neither do you. Or is this person talking to me about where she's going, her vision and her direction? Not about what she's going through. Okay, the second reason self-discipline is so important is it's the difference between temporary success and sustainable success. Guess what? Anybody can be successful for a moment. Anybody can do it for a moment. The core of all success is self-discipline. Most people want the quick fix. You know, what's the quickest way to be successful in life? Give it to me, right? Everybody wants to know. When I'm at a company event or I'm doing that, that's a lot of times when I get asked, like, give me a tip. What's going to make me successful? There's no quick tip. There's no quick fix. It's what? Consistency. It's the self-discipline. So uphill all the way. Self-discipline is the vehicle to get there. What's very important is that there's nothing I can do for an undisciplined person to make them successful. I want you to hear that. If you're leading others and you're working with others, or you're at any capacity, there is nothing I or you can do for an undisciplined person to make them successful. You will look back and regret wasting time. The quicker you understand that, and the quicker you stop working with those type of people, because they will wear you out. Okay, so here's the deal. It's pay now or pay later. Yes? I said that last night. Pay now or pay later. You're either going to pay now on the front end and make the self-discipline and sacrifice, and then you're going to get to play later, or you're going to play now and you're going to make sacrifice later. What do you think is better? Pay now. You guys, it's really hard for people in life to have to pay later. But I promise you, it's one or the other. You cannot play now and then play later. You're going to make the sacrifice of that one or the other. So every day you delay the payment goes up. That's why it's harder later. Every day you delay the payment and not sacrifice, the payment is going to go up later. Okay, number 3. Self-discipline makes habits your servant instead of your master. So self-discipline makes habits your servant versus your master. They're working for you. This happens once you have self-discipline. Habits begin to serve you versus serving it. You don't even think about it, they just become automatic. Uphill hopes, downhill habits. Uphill climbing versus downhill sliding. Uphill means you're preparing. You're preparing. Downhill is you're repairing. So if you're going uphill, it's preparing. Downhill is you're going to be repairing a lot of things. And that's where people waste a lot of time constantly trying to repair things in their life. So it takes a highly self-disciplined person to make an uphill climb. Yes? Yes? Only self-discipline will get you there. So let's talk about emotions for a minute. Because we all are emotional. And when you are a female, sometimes that emotion can overtake you. And can be a negative thing. So we are emotional beings, and I love emotion. And there's certainly time to allow those emotions. But let me just say something. Emotions without thinking are downhill. Emotions without thinking are downhill. So show me that person that's overly emotional, and I'll show you they're typically headed downhill. If you put emotions before thinking, it's downhill. So when you think right, your thinking will always trump feelings. When your thinking is right, it's going to trump feelings. So the thinking needs to come. The rational needs to come before the irrational. Not in the beginning. Sometimes we have to be patient with people. You know, I shared in the class earlier the priorities. I've been on a personal growth journey since I was 23. So when I'm leading somebody maybe that's newer on their personal growth journey, I need to be more patient with them and understand. You know, it's funny because sometimes I'll have conversations and my husband will remind me, he goes, honey, you aren't always as positive, right? And I remember when I started that journey, I actually was extremely negative. And now, when I love my mother, but I grew up around extreme negativity. And my husband reminds me of that. You know, and now it's so evident and obvious when I get around my family, and I love them, that they are extremely negative. Not like a little, like overly, I notice everything wrong. Oh my gosh, there's a hair on this table. Oh my gosh, did she, she would like walk into this room and she would just scope it out and find the wrong in everything. Like that is how I grew up. So I shared that because that was ingrained, but you can change. Just because that's what you know. So my personal growth journey, I tell you, it took me, right, a little bit. So be patient too with some of those people who are coming in and that you are leading, because it's a journey for all of us, right? And so somebody's going to be further along on their journey. Now you might start to lead somebody, and I would ask those questions and say, tell me about your personal growth journey. And they may say, I read books, I do this, I do that. And so guess how much faster can you lead her uphill? Or him uphill? A lot faster. If they've been working on themselves. So I am so excited for those of you that you're starting your personal growth journey. And I'm so proud that you've invested this weekend, because that's what this is about. And I promise you, this is going to revolutionize your life. It will change everything if you see the value and the priority. And I know that, after investing these years, like my mindset, how I think, my relationships, everything in my life is a result of me truly investing and taking personal development as that priority. And now I have such a passion to want, because I've seen that own change in my life, I want other people to experience that change. And that's what we get to do as leaders, is once we have gotten it, once we've experienced it, we get to go and give that away. And that's so cool, and help other people on that journey. So let emotion happen for the first few minutes or hour, and then move into thinking. Make sure the thinking is there. Number 4, self-discipline is most developed in your strengths and your passions. Because self-discipline needs fuel, the fuel comes from what you're good at and what you love. There's a connection between willpower and why power. When you're in alignment with your why, it's a lot easier for your willpower, right? Does that make sense? So there's a connection between the why power and the willpower. When you're doing your why and your purpose, you have a will. Because it's what you love. It's what you care about. It makes self-discipline easier when you're operating in that. I'm very disciplined when it comes to leadership development, because that's my passion. That's my passion. So nobody has to convince me to go to a leadership program. Nobody has to convince me to read leadership books. I want to do that because it's an area I'm passionate about, and therefore I want to grow, and I will create disciplines in my life to do those things. When I come to an event or I speak, I wake up so energized. I mean, it doesn't matter if I haven't slept all week, right? I am so excited. I cannot wait. I can't wait, whether it's getting up and getting to the airport at 4:30 in the morning so I can get somewhere and pour into people, or waking up early and doing what I got to do to come pour into people, because I am passionate passionate about. So it doesn't take this self-discipline to, oh, me out of bed, right? And drag myself out of bed. Now, are there days on a daily basis when sometimes you're in the mundane that you gotta do that? Yeah. But do you see, that's how you know you're operating, because when you're in that flow and you're in that thing that you love to do, you're gonna do that. Now, I could never have the opportunity to get up and speak at things if I didn't do the things in the dark that nobody sees. If I didn't do the self-discipline stuff, I wouldn't get to do what I love the most. And so that's the thing, you're never gonna get to do what you love the most unless you create those self-disciplines when nobody is looking. So the motion creates the emotion, yes? The motion, getting into action, that's what's going to create the emotion. So many times we're waiting for the emotion. When I feel the emotion, then the emotion will start. It doesn't work like that. You have to start the motion, and then it will come. So I never say, oh my gosh, I don't think of it as like, I don't have to lead. I get to lead. I want to lead. So why would I complain again about those responsibilities that maybe come along with it? There's nothing that you're going to do that you're going to love every responsibility that is supported by that thing. Yes? Here's probably the most important thing I want to say about self-discipline. A lack of self-discipline is a lack of knowing what you want in life. A lack of self-discipline is a lack of knowing what you really want in life. When you don't know what you want, you have no self-discipline power. All right, and number 5, self-discipline makes consistency possible and consistency compounds. So self-discipline makes consistency possible and it makes that consistency compound. So consistency is the prerequisite of excellence. When I think of leadership, the word that comes to mind is excellence. I think Sophia mentioned that last night. And that resonated with me because that is it. With whatever you're going to do in life, you want to do it with excellence. So if you want to walk in that and being a leader, let's do it with excellence. And that's how you're going to influence and make a bigger impact. You only become excellent in something because you are consistent with it. You never hit or miss your way to excellence, right? That's not how it's going to work. It is consistency. Consistency reinforces your vision you have and the values you have. People do what people see. Think about it. It's like monkey see, monkey do, right? And so one of the most important ways to lead is by your own example and how you're doing things. Because when people see you doing it, it becomes a value to you. And then leadership is highly visual, right? So it's not, let me go tell you all the things to do. But if I want, for example, let's say, I want people to treat people good. So when I see somebody walk in a room, I'm like, hi, how are you, Amy? Delia. Delia, it's so great to meet you. So tell me, so how do you know Debbie?
We met at this retreat yesterday.
Really? Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you were here. I can't wait to get to know you better.
Thank you.
Okay? So what happened is, I don't need to go tell Rita how to treat people, right? So the best way is to get people in your space and show them.
Mm-hmm.
So leadership, I believe, is a big show and tell game. It's a big show and tell. One of the things I think has served me most well is I learned early on that success is not convenient. Success is never convenient, ever, ever, ever. My first year when I was in business, I drove over an hour once a week to be in the space of somebody who was killing it in my business. And I kind of watched from afar, okay? But I kept doing that through life. And I kept putting myself in the space. I didn't wait for an invitation. I would put myself in every opportunity I could to go be around. And then when I was around those people, I would observe. And I would watch. And I would take note. And that, to me, is how I learned so much of what I know. Not from sitting and just, yes, I learned from that too. But a lot was that intrinsic. And not like, and that didn't happen accidentally, right? I specifically said, I want to go and watch and not just, watch what they're saying, but I want to watch what they're doing. I want to watch how they're interacting, how do they talk to people, what are they, right? All of that. That has served me so well. And consistency establishes your reputation. You get a reputation by doing the same thing really well. That consistency gives your followers a security because they know that they can depend on you. That's one of the most important things, even for leaders. What I have found is that it's not just followers that want to follow someone. Leaders are actually probably the hungriest to want to follow other leaders. And here's what they know. If you've been good in the past and you're good right now, you're probably going to be good in the future. So then they feel confident to follow you. But if you have no history, right, there's not a whole lot of confidence that those people are going to want to follow you. So consistency is everything in leadership because people will only follow you with a consistent track record. So consistency compounds. I have been speaking for probably 13 years. I've probably spoken, I was trying to just like random, like kind of in my head look at things and try to figure it out. I would just say probably like 2,000 times. Okay, if I've spoken approximately 2,000 times and I'm not very good at it, it's probably not the right thing. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Probably need to go in a different direction. But here's what happens. We start counting early on. We say, okay, whatever it is, speaking or whatever. Okay, I've done it one time. Oh, I've done it twice. I've done it a third time. But the third time we're irritated that we're not awesome. Or we're not further along. Oh, I've done it a fourth time. Oh, fifth. By the 10th time, you're like, really? This is where I'm at? You have to get, you shouldn't even like come up for air until you're like at 100 reps. Right? You need reps. Whatever you're trying to get good at. And literally, you shouldn't even consider, is this right or is this the wrong thing until maybe 1,000 reps. See how, right? So you see what I'm saying? So in the beginning, that's not how to look at it. You're focused so much, one, and then the next time. And then, right? That's not how it's going to work. You can never see, there's just not enough reps in there for you to discover that yet. So self-discipline allows every day to count and self-discipline to compound. Here's the deal. You will never know how good you are. You'll never know how good you're going to be until you've done it long enough to know how good you can be. Let me say that again. You'll never know how good you're going to be until you've done it long enough to know how good you can be. Most people just give up way too quick. And here's the deal. Let's just use that example of 1,000 reps. If you got to do 1,000 reps, you could do the 1,000 reps in 1 year, or you could take 25 years. So to me, it made a lot of sense. Okay, so this can take 1,000 reps. Why not do it in a year if I can, right? Versus waiting 25 years to do it. But that's what most people do because they get frustrated and they go, step one, step, oh, I'm not seeing results. And then what do? They went uphill for a little bit for a couple days, slide down back hill, right? Oh, got motivated again, came to something, uphill for a couple days, slide back downhill. Do you see? You're never getting to that 1,000 reps versus if you're like, I'm doing it, okay? It's important you schedule that time for breaks. It doesn't mean you're taking a break, it's you're scheduling rest time, but you're having those reps in there to be able to do it. So, but this is what happens, you guys. Okay, so in the beginning, you're not as bad as people think you are. But let me tell you how it works if you do it over time. You're not as good as people think you are. It switches. It's like a consistency flip. So after a while, people will think that you're amazing. That you're so amazing. And you're not even that good. They just think you are. If you haven't got it, like I said, over 1,000 times, like move on. And maybe you can like get out of one boat and start another boat, okay? So self-discipline, again, it's a bridge or a tunnel. What's your attitude on self-discipline? Are you going somewhere? If you are, it's going to motivate you. If you're going over the bridge, right? I see where I'm going, over that bridge, okay? But it's a bridge. It's not a little step, okay? It's a bridge, but you have a vision, you know where you're going. A tunnel is, I'm going through something. Okay, big difference on your mindset and your attitude towards self-discipline. So if you're in a tunnel with your self-discipline, you will quit all the time. That's how you know you're in a tunnel. Stop and start, quit and stop, right? But if you are a bridge, you're going to keep going because you'll see what you're going to. It's not what you're just going through. Vision gives you what you're going to, not what you're going through. So, are we ready to lead ourselves with self-discipline and be worthy of others following us? Yes? Okay. Because we're not worthy of people following us unless we can first lead ourselves. So let's move on to this part. I wanted to share this with you, and I'll be around if you have kind of questions about it. But what I know is that everyone is motivated, yes?
Yes.
Everybody is motivated. Our job as leaders is to learn how to identify what motivates them. Yes, thank you. I have another thing, but I'll just okay.
There's no margins?
Oh, it's in your folder. Okay, we have it. Here, just use this one, and then we'll leave it. Okay. So, we'll get through this, but here's what I want you to know. Okay. With these 5 basic needs, we have all of them. Okay? So there's all of them that we have, but typically, I want you to first think about yourself to identify which ones motivate you the most. So, if everyone is motivated, right? If all of us internally are motivated, we have to know what makes you tick. So, this is very different than a personality. Did you know personality can change over time? So, who maybe you were at 10 could be very different personality-wise who you are at 50. But this never changes. So I love what Sophia said last night about when you're a child. So one of the best ways to look at this and to identify what truly motivates you, like truly, because sometimes we're trying to motivate ourselves in the way that's not our true motivation. So who you were as a child is a lot of times how you can see what motivated you. Okay? So that's how I kind of want you to look at it. So let's kind of talk about them real quick. So let's go through them. So power and achievement. Now, like I said, all of us, as we're going through them, we all have all 5. But you're going to have a dominant, like a primary one that is number 1 for you, but then you're also going to have a secondary one that's going to be pretty close, okay? So I want you to kind of try to identify that as we're going through it. So the first one is power and achievement. The need to conquer. The need to win. Okay, so y'all probably know what am I in. All right, you're energized by the win. You're empowered by an ambitious heart. Achievement is an urgent calling for you. You have a highly competitive spirit, not always in competition with others, but competitive in the need to excel. You strive to be the best. That can be number 1, or it can be the best of yourself. What you want to do. Loves to break records because of the win factor. Loves the spotlight, appreciation, admiration, and respect. Values relationships that challenge her. If her leadership does not challenge her, she may leave. Has great clarity through the process, clears the path with determination, not weighed down by incidentals, and takes the lead without thinking. Now, here's some of, I'm going to kind of tell you what they are and then tell you some of the things that are important to know about these people, right? Because in leading others, what the goal is you identify what their need is, right? What is that motivational need? And then you work with them based on that. So this applies. You apply this to your relationships, right? This is good for your kids, for your friends, for your spouse, for whoever, okay? So here's the thing about power and achievement, though, that you have to be careful if this is you or how you're working with somebody else. They can become rigid in their leadership or expectation of others. Okay? So if you're power and achievement, because you're so achieved, you have that expectation of others, and so a lot of times you get that kind of frustration. Also, doesn't usually like messy emotions or complicated situations. So they're probably less tolerant of those people going through a tunnel because they can manage that better. They are so driven that they just don't let that stuff kind of stop them, and they just don't like that messy emotion or complicated situations. Can find herself disconnecting and detaching too easily. I'm out, right? Remember, one of the most important things about power and achievement, if they don't feel like they're winning, you're probably going to lose them. So when you're working with someone who's a high power achiever, you need to go, how can I work and create the wins, right? So all my coaching, all that's going to be working around, how can this person feel like she's constantly winning? And it's your job as the leader to help create that and help figure that out for her. All right, how many of you can think of a power and achievement person? I want you to try to write down somebody that you may know that maybe is this person, because that'll help you kind of connect that. So who do you maybe know with power and achievement? Because once you kind of identify with one person, then it's a little bit easier, like, oh yeah, okay, they're kind of like so-and-so, right? And so that may help you a little bit. All right, the second one is love and connecting, or belonging, the need to influence. So this person, and when I say need, you guys, this is the difference. This is not something they want in life, like they need this to survive. Like they need this to have joy in their life. They need this. So this person needs to influence. It's just the way their DNA is. It's just the way they were wired. Like you were born this way. That whole member I talked about yesterday, this is not something you're influenced by. Like you were created this way, you know, whether you like it or not, right? You were created this way. Okay, so this person has the need to influence. So energized by the ability to influence. You're energized by making a difference. Energized by giving money. Empowered by the influence of affecting another person's heart or actions, has a dedicated interest in how others think, respond, and operate, desires to be immersed in the middle of great heartfelt communication, is physically affectionate, easily demonstrates love. So you know how some people, when you meet them, they're like, hi, just meet you, right? They're a hugger, all right? A lot of times you can identify love and belonging people. You know, they're usually more affectionate. They're usually embracing, right? Because they want to influence, they want to affect how you're feeling, right? They require physical touch and comforts others with physical connection. So if you're not a feeler, you got to get over yourself. If you're dealing with something, remember, a great leader is a chameleon. You're authentic in your own leadership, but you're a chameleon when making that other person feel special, right? So if Rita's like, Saray, I can be like, hey Rita, how's it going? So what's up? So tell me about your business, okay? No, hey Rita, how are you? You right? You have to embrace it. Then I can approach and ask her a question about how she's doing or about her business, okay? She values relationships that stimulate her head, her heart, and her soul. So if you're like, right, she needs to be stimulated, right? You need to have deeper conversations probably, or, you know, not just surface level. Progress is made through elevating others' belief and understanding. So their progress is going to be measured by elevating other people's belief and understanding. They make friends easily. All right, so here's kind of the things you got to watch if you're love and belonging or you're working with someone love and belonging. They can become too absorbed and sensitive to the needs of others. They can get too much involved, too absorbed and sensitive to the needs of others, and so then you allow it to affect you, right? You're like taking it on a little bit, okay? Kind of like that astronaut picture that I kind of showed you guys, right? If you're connecting, you need to cut the cord, okay? Because that's robbing you of investing time in other places that you need to. Oversensitivity can complicate the clarity necessary to reach the goal quickly. So typically they're being oversensitive, they're taking things too personal. So something isn't happening, again, they take it on, and they're like, you know, it has nothing to do with them probably. It has nothing to do with you probably, but you're taking it on because you're a little overly sensitive, because again, you care so much about influence, right? Think about it, you have a need to influence. So when you feel like you're not, you see how that could really affect you or shut you down. Finds it difficult to detach from unhealthy people or situations. So sometimes I would say that listen to your, you know, if you have a mentor, that's really great, because one of the best things I feel like if you have a mentor in your life, we all have blind spots, and mentors can show you your blind spots. And if you'll invite your mentor and say, hey, I want to be my best, so if you see an area in my life or you see something that's hindering my leadership from growing to that level, please show me. So I tell my people all the time, like, if you want it, I'm going to tell you. But you got to give me permission. I'm not going to share it. And I have to say that with my mentors. I have somebody who I, again, sought out to mentor me. She didn't come up to me and go, excuse me, Amy Allgood, I would love to be your mentor. No, I will tell you, I drove 3 small babies, literally 3 small babies. My youngest was 5 weeks old. I had a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. I ran out of gas on the way, drove to Georgia. My son had a huge blowout. It was not convenient in the bit, but I wanted to be in the space of this giant leader, okay? Come to find out, because I put myself in there, because I listened to that inner voice. Everything else, right? Everybody said, Amy, you're crazy. What are you doing? You're nursing a 5-week-old baby. You have this. What, you know, and if you've ever nursed before, okay, when they're 5 weeks, you're basically nursing every 2 hours. Or the cluster, right? It's just constant. You're just facing the boob. You're just like this, okay? All the time, walking around, right? Okay, right? Okay? And so that was probably irrational for a lot of people. But here's the thing. If you want to be successful, you're not going to do what most people would do. Most people would not have done that. That was one of the best decisions I made, because this woman has been a mentor to me now for the last 6 years. We send each other Christmas cards, we get off the phone, we say, I love you, she says, I love you, all because I sought her out. She would have never even known who I was. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to seek out that mentorship. And the last one, enabling versus empowering. So you got to watch, because if you're leading people, if you're love and belonging because you want so bad to influence them, you can sometimes enable instead of empower. Because you feel bad to say, Bree, you got this, girl. You do not need me. You can go do it. You've got it. Right? I need to empower to go do. Versus I'm like, okay, you know what, Ashley, I need you to come with me, and we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, right? And so now she feels like it's so hard because she needs me to do everything, right? I'm treating her like this baby. Okay. Freedom and choice. The need for freedom. Whew. Deep breath. Okay. If you are not, now, if you are freedom and choice, okay. If you're not freedom and choice, you're just like, this is just sometimes challenging. My husband is freedom and choice. I am not. They are energized by options. They're empowered by an open agenda. Does not respond favorably to rigid rules or strict conformity. So some of you, if you're freedom and choice, you know, or maybe, well, freedom and choice people may not even be in the classes this morning, which is okay. Right? They may be looking at my, okay, Amy, where's my time? Okay. So just so you know, when I was creating this weekend, I literally was creating it with all of these in mind. You know, what is the power and achievement person want to watch? Love and belonging. We're going to connect tonight at the fireside. So all you love and belonging people, you're going to cry, you're going to love, right? Freedom and choice. You're going to have 2.5 hours of reflection time. You can do whatever you want, right? Do you see? So when I'm approaching anything leadership, I am considering, right? Because I can't just do it what I want to do, right? I got to look at everybody, okay? Has an innate desire to create their own way. Easily strays from the planned venue, loves to soar in a positive direction, desires to control their decisions, their direction, their schedule, values mature relationships that don't require constant attention. So if you're leading somebody, I've had to do a lot of growth in this area and learn this. So if your leader, if you're too regimented, okay, then they are going to become frustrated. Okay, so if you're not freedom and choice, but you're leading somebody who's freedom and choice, you should do that. So that has been a growth in my journey, right? Because I was like, okay, before I understood all this, I'm like, okay, this is what I would want, but that's not what everybody would want. So you've got to take all that into consideration. Loves to express herself through her own creative design. All right, here's what to watch with freedom and choice, or if you are working with them. They can be perceived as being rebellious or disrespectful. I used to be highly offended by these people. Highly offended. How dare she? I took it so personal because, what do you think my second besides power and achievement, I would be what? Love and belonging. So I would be overly sensitive to these people. That wasn't that. She wasn't trying to be disrespectful at all. It's just how she was wired. She needed to have some freedom. Remember I said I have no wiggle room? Right? What is that? No slack in my rope? God gave me a husband that is freedom and choice, which is so good for me because he has all the slack, right? And so he's good to go, Amy, you need some more slack. And I'm looking at his life and I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, right? And so sometimes it's like I admire that, sometimes I get frustrated with it, all right. But is negatively challenged by a specific strategy, structure, or tracking, does not like accountability. This, I would tell, if you were freedom and choice, that could really hurt you. Okay? Now, you need accountability, but figure out what's going to work for you. But you would want that accountability. So a lot of times that will stop you from moving to that next level. And then operates out of the need to be spontaneous versus tied down with too many long-term plans, right? You need something more. Okay. All right, so write down someone you think, like I shared my husband, freedom and choice, so I think about that, so that's easy then when I'm dealing with someone similar with that, I know how to kind of operate. All right, number 4, safety and security, the need for stability. These people need safety, they need security, right? Energized by a savings account. They're empowered by a stable environment, is not innately impulsive, needs to think things through. So again, on the other hand, if you're a freedom and choice leader and you're too spontaneous or you're not planned out, these people get highly frustrated with you, okay? You need to have some structure there. Even if you're not a structured person, it will frustrate people if they show up to something and you have no structure at all. Is not innately, okay, I said that. Values trust and continuing in relationships. Trust is huge for this person. They feel, bless you, more confident and comfortable when there is a known plan. They feel out of control and very unsafe if there's no plan, right? So this person, if y'all were to get here this weekend and were like, hey, just show up Friday at 5:30 and then we're gonna leave Sunday at 12, you would be totally stressed out. You'd be like, well, what's going on, right? You would need that plan to feel secure in your decision to come to something like this. That's why on the website, we put the agenda. So, right, if you're safety and security, how many of you looked at this retreat and you loved there was an agenda and you knew, right, what you could expect from the weekend? They're motivated by the ability to control and create her own future. Feels better to save money than to spend it. So they love to save and they seek peace, right? So they seek that peace. So what to watch for safety and security can be too cautious. Typically, you're an overthinker. It has to think through invitations or decisions with a need to feel comfortable about the rollout. So I would just challenge to say, hey, just take that step. Take the risk more. Take some more risk. Decisions are affected by physical safety, not usually being spontaneous. Right? So I feel safe. I feel confident in making this decision. All right, so think of somebody who's at safety and security. And hopefully, again, it's good to have maybe one person that is if you're in a relationship, and one that's not. Yeah, right. Well, it's like I shared about that husband and wife last night, right? She is totally safety and security, 100%. And this is kind of fun, you guys. And I want to challenge you as you're like in environments now, like later on, even try to figure out what other people are, right? Like really. And then decisions are affected by physical safety, not, I said that. Okay, so write that down. Last one, fun and pleasure. These people are the fun at the party, right? They literally have a need for fun and adventure in their life. This is a need that they want. They're empowered by a party. They're energized by laughter. It has to be fun or they will make it fun, okay? That's what's great to have these people around. They're going to just make it fun. They're motivated by the ability to have fun, conversation, and laughter. Does not respond favorably to serious, dull, boredom conversations. They're drawn to music. They move deeply by music. Inspired by the opportunity to experience the uncommon, new venues, new adventures. Love vacations for the experience, not necessarily for the rest. So when they're planning their vacation, it's not like, okay, how am I going to get to sleep? No, it's like, what adventures? What are we going to do? What activities are we going to be doing, right? Okay, so we have to create the experience. Willing to work hard in order to have fun options. So if you're trying to motivate somebody who is a fun and pleasure, it's okay, what experience can we look forward to? Right? What are you willing to work for that's going to give you that? That's what you're going to work for. If you are leading somebody this way, if you are too demanding of their time, they can get a little resentful, okay? Because again, kind of like a freedom and choice, they need to have a little bit, of that space, a little bit of that fun. It's and there's also some people will. This is not always an extrovert. Sometimes people are like, oh, that they're very obvious. They're not always an extrovert, right? This is more about having the conversations, pulling out in them by asking questions to find out what's going to drive them. And you can just ask that question. Tell me, what would really motivate you? What would you really get excited to look forward to? Is she talking about winning? Is she talking about something to create more freedom? Are they talking about something that's going to make her feel safe? Or is it something fun? Right? So start to dig deeper, and then once you can identify it, then you can dig deeper in those layers with that. So you gotta watch out. It's not motivated by workshops or, you know, any long sessions. They have to be entertaining, okay? So last night, in planning out what Friday night would look, looking at all that, right? We had to have some fun. We had to have, woo! Let's blow our horns. Let's dance. Let's have some music, right? Because we gotta have some fun also. So you have to know if you're creating things as a leader, you're creating any programs or events, like you gotta make sure and look at all 5 and say, how are we gonna fulfill everybody's need? They schedule lots of vacations. Okay, they're going to put a lot into the schedule of that's not interrupted or as necessary, even considering kind of goofing off, right, to conquer off to a need to conquer person. So if you have somebody you're like, dang, they're on freaking vacation all the time. Well, if they get the job done, who cares, right? So I'm like, geez, they're right, but if they can get the job done, then that's what matters. All right, so how can you incorporate the 5 basic needs into your leadership? That's what I want you to ask yourself. So why do you guys think it would be so important to know your basic need and the need of people you're leading? What do you guys think? Why do you think this is important? To know yours and to know the people you lead.
So everyone can be at their best.
That's exactly right. If the only way somebody can operate in their very best and perform at their highest level potential is if they're operating in that. It's the only way. If they're not operating in that, they will never reach their full potential. So it's crucial for us to know that and to figure out a way to create that and to help others create that. So last, I'll leave you with this. How many of you feel like you identified your number 1 and your number 2? Okay? Sometimes you may be feeling like you're torn between 1 or 2. So here's what I want to help you. First, eliminate the ones that you're not. Go, I know that I'm definitely not this, I'm definitely not that, I'm definitely not that. And then secondly is, what was your basic need for achieving as a child? The third thing to help you figure out is, this aspect was taken away from you, you would quit. If this was taken away from you, you would no longer go on doing what you're doing. So that can usually help you identify, or when you're working with somebody, to ask them the questions to help them identify. Because like for a long time, I went into a power achievement and love and belonging, and I was trying to figure out what was my number 1 and what was my number 2. Those last 2 questions helped me figure that out. Okay, when I was a kid, would I have been more upset if this happened with, like my friend, or would I be more upset if I didn't get the A on the test or win whatever competition I was doing? It would have been the winning, right? So both were important to me, but that one would have upset me more. So, and what, again, same thing. If I don't have those 2 things in my life, so I have to create that. How can I feel like I'm winning in my marriage? How can I feel like I'm winning in my career? How can I feel like I'm winning as a mother? How can I feel like I'm winning right in every area? And then also that love and belonging. So I have to create that in every area. Okay? So you guys excited? Yeah, questions?
What if you feel like your 1 and 2 are very conflicting? So like winning is one, but another is like safety and security. And for me, like professionally, those things actually are almost antidotes.
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah, well, that there is like the challenge, because like the same thing, like me being power and belonging, like if you heard like one, I can be, with the power and achievement, it's like, oh, I don't want to deal with like the emotion stuff.
Yeah.
But then on the love and belonging, it's like that is the stuff that sometimes will, stop me, or I'll get too caught up in that, right? To be oversensitive to that. So I think it's just being aware of it. So if you're aware of that and kind of looking, but I would say, if you can try to operate more in the 1,
Okay.
and start there and work in that, and then when the 2 stuff shows up, you'll be able to handle it better.
Yeah, like focus on, maybe you realize winning is giving you more positivity, and so try to temper the like fear around security.
Well, or even saying, so let's just say career. How can I win in my career that I would make more money that gives me the security?
Yeah.
You see? So then that makes them work together versus apart.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I don't want to take away from our VIP lunch, so I'll be around the rest of the weekend. We can dig deeper, we can talk more about this. So if you're in the VIP, go ahead and head to the Drift restaurant. And everybody else, you have their lunches next door. You can grab them and go. And, oh, right out the door. Thank you.
Amy, you want to tell? All right, you guys got to be quiet.
Yeah, ladies, pipe down. We need to hear my word.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Am I supposed to say my name? I have no idea how I'm supposed to.
Are we doing it standing up? Okay.
Just say hi, your name, and then go
Okay.
from there.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kate. I am.
Let me close the doors.
Yeah. Including myself.
But do we have to do it now? Because I don't know what I want to say.
Yeah.
It has to be now?
You can do some now, and then he's gonna set it up like during quiet time later.
Yeah, that's
so you could always swing back around if you think of something better.
Okay. Yeah, cause he's gonna set it up in a room. Yeah. You guys done this later on? Oh my God.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm here at the Refresh Weekend having the time of my life. We started last night and I got to meet many new faces, and I'm so excited to take this opportunity to dig deeper with friends who I've had before today and new friends. We are here hearing amazing new ideas and solidifying old ideas and really just rejuvenating our understanding of ourselves and the connections we have to our world. Lisa Duval has been such an inspiration talking about how we can rekindle the relationships we have in our lives, and really thinking about how we settle conflict. That this morning was just terrific, helping us to understand how we function in our relationships. And also Amy Allgood spoke with us about our prioritizing our time, and really not just giving us these kind of vague ideas, but how does she really do it? What does her calendar look like? And that was such helpful to me. And it's surprising looking at someone else's life and thinking, oh, how can I adjust that for me? How can I reinvigorate my life with these tools that she's handing me today? And so I'm just already, we're only partway through, but I've already gotten so many wonderful takeaways, and I just can't wait to see what else is in store for us for this next several hours and tomorrow again. So it's just been a great time.
Woo!
And that moderator.
I don't know if I'm saying this.
You look chunky on camera, girl.
You know what?
Make her right a little
I
bit.
need you to not say that.
You looking a little thick on.
You know what? You
On
be
the
quiet
video.
with your hot mess self this morning. All right, you ready?
Fine. I was living my life.
Exactly. Benny was fine. We wanted to be where Benny was.
It's recording, baby.
Oh, okay. Can you see my papers?
Yes.
It's recorded.
Okay. I'm just gonna show my papers then. Is that okay?
I guess. He's going to have to do a lot of editing.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. Okay. Hi, my name is Beth Abreu, and Refresh has been really, really awesome. I feel super happy that I came. Starting from just being reminded of kind of my inner thoughts of what I think about myself, and really reflecting the sound and the voice and the words that I really tell myself, even though I'm not saying it out loud. I'm saying a lot of things that are almost like limiting beliefs, and also negative, and things that I wouldn't want to tell my daughter, I'm saying to myself. So even though it's easy for us to defend someone else, we learned that, you know, we're easy to do that and be an advocate for someone else. Like, you're not going to talk to my girl like that. But when it comes to us, we don't do that for ourselves. And so since last night, we did this exercise and we practiced the things we would want to hear. And we went around and just kind of heard those words like being whispered to us. And it was really awesome because it reminded me that I somehow forget that in the busyness of my life, who I really want to be. So just a lot of reflection on the person that I want to show up as well as the person that I truly want to feel like I am. And because I'm saying the opposite of that, that becomes an existence. So it was just really awesome to kind of self-reflect on that. and so many other things, like the class about being a mother and, kind of looking at all the different developmental stages of raising your children, and I love that. It was really awesome to see, because I can see that my daughter fell in a different category. She's a little more advanced, so she was falling into another category and stage. And so on each stage, you have to teach your children things differently. You go from coaching and being a cop and all of this. It was just such a great breakdown. And it's more of a preparation, and just learning how to have the tools to be better prepared to be an awesome mom. And just knowing that you have to have grace on yourself. I mean, I just learned a lot of great things here, and I can't wait to reflect and think about what I'm going to implement, and also what I'm going to be telling myself, because it is a life journey, and I feel like that is like a big thing that I got so far in these past 24 hours, that it's not going to be perfect, but it's something that is going to continue to happen. Every single day you're learning and growing, but always have grace on yourself, and always strive to be better, and always believe that you were made perfectly the way, even though it's imperfect, you were made perfectly. So just a lot of great tools here. I wish there were, 15,000 women here experiencing this with us, and so definitely recommend this retreat. It has been phenomenal so far, and we're only halfway through.
Tell me when. Hi, I am Unique Merrill, and I am so excited to be at Refresh Retreat. And so one of the things that I'm learning at this retreat is, obviously I know the personality traits that I have, and I know the leadership skills that I do own right now, but I'm also learning how to dig deep within those traits and skills, and how to help other leaders either find their strengths and then work in their strengths to achieve their ultimate goals. So it's all about learning how to get from here to there, and knowing that there will be obstacles in the way, but it's okay, because you're gonna get up, dust yourself off, and you're just gonna go ahead and go. I love the classes where Amy talked about when she said, find your mentor. It's okay to reach out to your mentor and say, hey, I need you to hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to the things that I want to achieve in life, or to the things that I'm not doing when I said that I want this consistency, and I'm not sticking up or showing up in that form. So the next refresh, I pray that you guys can be a part of this. And I am just excited to hear all the different nuggets that I'm going to get, and where I can plant them in my life, where it's with my family, individually, or with my team members and or future leaders that I'll be building. Have an awesome weekend. Refresh. Edit that, Benny.
It's recording. I'm gonna walk up.
Oh, I'm good? Okay. Hi, my name is Veronica, and I'm here at the Refresh Retreat, and I just wanted to give a little bit of a recap and reasons as to why I decided to come to the retreat. I had always been intrigued with the idea of personal growth. Always felt like I needed to develop myself from a very early age, and I never really knew how to access that, how to get to a point where I can grow. And so, self-help books, things of that nature. And then I actually met Amy, and she was obsessed with the idea of personal growth and empowering women. And I thought that was really refreshing to have somebody who was so bold about those topics that sometimes are a little muted in our society. And so I started going to a growth group, and I thought that was a beautiful thing, but I had never come to a full immersive retreat. And sometimes I feel, especially as a mother and a wife and all of the priorities in my life, that I don't have the time to take to come to something like this. But she really put it on my heart that this is something that you need to do for yourself. You need to take this time to reflect and refresh and pour into yourself, to be able to go ahead and give the best to those people who depend on you in your life, and also yourself. You depend on yourself every day. So being here has been really just an incredible experience. It's been immersive. You get to have relationships with people. You get to speak with others who are in the same season of life as you, or who have gone past that season and are in a new season that they can actually help you and have a different outlook or a fresh take as to what's going on in your season. And you can also be an aid, and also just really nice to be able to relax and have that camaraderie with women. The food is delicious. the women are incredible, and it's just been a really great experience to be able to have this. And I definitely look forward to doing another growth retreat in the future. So I'm excited for the possibilities. I've already texted my husband about all the conversations that we're going to have when we get home, and I already have such a lineup for the things that I want for my children and how I want my life to look, and that's based off of one full day of just having that access to that growth and other women who have grown and who are in different places. So I'm excited to really put it into place when I get home. I'm excited to share this with not only my husband and my children and really start living instead of surviving, but also sharing it with my friends who I can see that are struggling, and acquaintances who ask me questions. And so I feel like I've gotten a wealth of knowledge in just one day. So that's really incredible, and I really look forward to another year.
Any of Richard Moore's material? Okay, so it just kind of gives me an idea of where we are. Okay, so your image is going to come later, but it's because it may come to life to you a little bit more vividly here in a little bit as we're diving into stuff. I wanted to give you just an understanding of what's in your folder. So in your folder, you have an Enneagram page that has a cover page with a crazy crazy symbol on it. In your folder, in your blue folder. Yep. Amanda's going to hold it up for you. Yep. Okay. Just because I know there's going to be a lot of information, I want to make sure that you're aware. So after you get past the little cover page, there's a page where we're going to go through some of the, what is the Enneagram, and then there's just blank lines that are numbers. I mean, that have numbers on them, and their titles, and that's where I'm going to be talking about what each number is. All that stuff. You're going to write down anything that resonates with you. So if you're like, oh, that's cool, I'm going to write that down. So on the second page, if you see the second page where it says 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it starts with 1 and 2 on this page, the bottom. So you'll see that. See those blanks? When I go, I'm going to go through each number and give some qualities and some things that you're just going to write on there whatever you want. There's no like written, so don't go, what'd you say? You know, there's no blanks. The blanks filled in by you. So the thing about it is, even if you are, whatever your number currently is, you are connected to other numbers. Actually, 4 of them. So you're knowing the other numbers is actually important. So when I get to those numbers, you want to write stuff down because it may actually mean something to you as we move on. Does that make sense? So I'm going to give you what is the Enneagram, some components of it. Then we're going to go through each number. Those lines are for you to fill in, whatever. You actually may think of someone you're like, that could be so-and-so. You're really not supposed to type people because you don't know that every motivation of someone's heart. So, but it is good to kind of, some people that I think I know what they are, I actually operate with them as if they're that number because I know that they don't like certain things. So make sure you just take down notes, and on numbers, just write a name. If you're like, oh, that's my husband, oh, that's my, yeah, then that'll just kind of give you a lens of things. Does that make sense? Because I feel like this is such a deep dive that we're about to have, I wanted to give you context. The very last page, if you can rip it off and set it to the side, is it connected? This little guy, this reference page?
The second page of our packet.
Okay. So you may want to rip that out because I think you need to let it set here by you that you can have a reference of it. I think that's going to help you. Sorry. It's so difficult. Okay, we know what number you are, Amanda, right now. We know where you're, I know, I have a feeling. Show me your picture. Show it to me right now. Okay, that says a lot. So, see, I just think my husband did this. He's like, I think this will be a great reference page for those girls. And so he made this for me so you can see that. Because I think there's not going to be any writing on this. It's just something for you to look at while we're talking. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does everybody feel like they know where we're going and what's going to happen here? Very good. Because I don't want you to be lost trying to figure out where I am. Okay. Very good. Okay. a couple of years back. I've been reading stuff all along on it. I love people. I love personalities. I think we all kind of like personality tests or things that tell us a little bit about ourselves. And so, just investigating it, I ended up getting certified in Enneagram, and through a particular, one of the links that I gave you guys, if you went and paid for it, that's the particular assessment tool that I'm connected with. It's used by licensed counselors, executive coaching, they use Enneagram, use it in pastoral counseling. I'm just actually figuring out, James and I, my husband and I use it with married couples. It helps really uncover some communication and some felt needs and motivations. So it's just, or you can just use it yourself and just really discover a lot about yourself and some different things. So I'm excited for you guys, for us to dive into this. So this is what I know, is if the Enneagram is like a self-reflection tool. It's like a way that you can look inside, reflect inside. If you can't self-reflect, you can't self-correct. That's your first one. If you can't self-reflect, you can't self-correct. I remember the first time I saw myself on video, it was painful to watch. It's still painful to watch. Hello, myself on video. So I hate it. And so, but what I noticed was as I was self-reflecting, is that my elbows were like pinned here. So I would talk, and my hands would go, and it was huge. I mean, the ocean was so large, and everything was like ginormous and huge, and it was just so compelling. And I was like, why are my elbows tied to my waist? Why? It's like they can reach out. I can move. I can move. I don't have to stand just trapped in this square box. And so, as I was looking at myself, I'm like, I look like a T-Rex dinosaur. That's exactly what I look like. So when I saw that, because I took time to watch the tapes, I took time to self-reflect, I can actually self-correct. And so now I will always try to go, remember your arms, they're connected, but they're not connected here, they're connected right up here. So I can move my hands, I can demonstrate broadly and vastly things now. So, but I think it's such a great picture of, I personally love to self-correct more than I get correction, which tells a lot about me. I don't receive criticism very well. I have to work on that. But I think we all would say we'd rather see that we look like a T-Rex dinosaur ourselves than someone to say, every time you speak, I think of a T-Rex dinosaur. So I'm thinking, this is the things we want to do. And Enneagram is actually that for us. So just a little bit about it, what it is and what it is not. So outwardly, as we look at other people's lives, as we interact with family and friends and coworkers, it is a tool for compassion and empathy. So compassion and empathy, outward it's for that. It is not for correction or condemnation. So it's for compassion and empathy. It is not for correction or condemnation. So the truth is when you hear about the struggle, the tension that I'm just going to choose, an 8 feels, you're going to go, gosh, that's tough. You have empathy for them. You go if you know an 8, you can see them actually working on themselves. You have compassion that they're really trying to restrain their intensity. They're intense people. So instead of going, so that's what it should do. It should elicit like, okay, they're this number, they require this, or they're motivated by this. So I'm going to need to be mindful of that. It wouldn't be, my husband's an 8. There's your 8. Your 8's hanging out. So sick of the 8. The 8 is overdoing it right now. Take it down. He lives at a 10. We're wanting to be at a 2. That's where we want to be. So it's just like, the intensity is so great. But that's very judgmental. And so this is the deal. You cannot be on a journey with someone you're judging. You cannot be on a journey with someone judging. So if you're using this as a tool of judgment or correction or condemnation, you're misusing it. It should elicit compassion and empathy because we'll actually see, obviously, the shadow sides, the strength sides and the shadow sides of each number, and you can actually see the turmoil that's internally going on. Does that make sense so far? Yeah. Good. Okay, so inwardly, what it is and what it is not. Inwardly is actually 9 self-reflection mirrors, so self-reflection mirrors, revealing truths and well-worn grooves we get in. I always think of this when I go, I lived in the country, so when you had a truck stuck in the mud, you know, you're just spinning your tires, you're in a well-worn groove. You're gonna have to get a piece of wood, something under that tire to get yourself out. So it is a way that you can look at the strengths that you have, but also some well-worn grooves that you've gotten into that you didn't even realize that's how you respond. That's what's in your heart, that kind of stuff. So it's an opportunity for growth. It allows us, this 9 reflection mirrors allows us to grow. It gives us paths to grow. It's not just, you have this shadow side, but other things that you can actually connect to and grow to. And the interesting thing about the Enneagram is, again, inward self-reflection mirrors, is it actually reveals the motivation. That's where it kind of separates from other personality assessments, in that it reveals not as much about personality, but what motivates you. And I think it'll be interesting, since I wasn't in Amy's classes, some of the things we talked about, that you talked about, are going to be coincide here. So it's very interesting. So it is about personality, but it's so much more, it's why you do what you do. Okay, so what it is not a tool for self-absorption. This isn't a time to get very inflated with your 3-ness or your 2-ness or whatever number you are, but it's also not a time to just completely beat yourself up. So some people just see all the negative qualities and they're like, I wish I wasn't this number, you know. So that it's not for you to be self-absorbed. It's just it's a tool. It's not the Word of God. It's not. It's just a way that can help us self-discover a little bit. Does that make sense? So don't. I'm just saying that because there is a particular number. A friend of mine. I'm not going to expose that person, that number, but she says it felt like when I read what I was, that I was walking around in my underpants and just completely exposed in front of everyone. That's a very vulnerable place to be. So I just want you not to feel exposed like you're walking around in your underpants. Everybody has clothes on, and we're going to be fine. So you got it? So as we're talking about this stuff, don't get too overwhelmed with that. Okay, so what it is, what it isn't. I'm going to just pop through a few of the components to give you some context to what it is. But I want to first, because I think as leaders, you guys are all familiar with different assessments, Strength Finders, DISC, Myers-Briggs. There's another, it's called the Hogan personality. So all these different assessments, how it kind of shakes down. I thought I'd give some context of where it fits in how all of those things are. So they would say Strength Finders and DISC are a simple tool. They say Myers-Briggs is a complicated tool, and Hogan, that one. So it goes a little bit different, deeper, so it's a little bit more complicated. But Enneagram is complex. There's so many layers. There's so many different triads, 3 different connecting numbers that mean stuff. There's different motivation. There's so much more to it. Like, people have studied Enneagram for 20, 30 years and wouldn't consider themselves experts. So there's just a lot of layers. So I am not an expert. I'm a learning person. But I don't want to also give you a ton of information that isn't necessary for now. So what I'm going to share with you is just a brush stroke of some things that will get your brain started on what it is, and that I thought was maybe the important components that you should know. So everybody with me so far? Yeah. Good. Doing good. Okay, so we're going to dive deeper into the core numbers themselves, but your number that you identified with, was everyone able to take the assessment? Yeah. Very good. If you didn't, it's not going to be the end of the world. You can take it later. You're going to probably figure out, you'll probably narrow some things down as we walk through this. But this is what you need to know about your number. Your number can't change. You can't improve and become a 7. So, everyone wants to be a 7 because they're just so fun. But you're not going to grow up one day and be a 7 and come out of your 5 list. It's not going to happen. So the number that you have is what you are. You develop within that number, so you don't change. Your number doesn't change. You change, but your number doesn't change. They say, I'm just boiling it down, is that this is kind of locked in around your elementary years. This would be determined in that time and really doesn't deviate from that point. It is actually, it answers again more the question of your motivation. There is no perfect number. And what it is 1/3 nature, 1/3 nurture, and 1/3 of the role that you play in your family, which I have written down there for you so you wouldn't have to fill it in. So those are the kind of components that come together. So how you're actually just wired, born and wired a certain way, the environment you grew up in, and what role you played in that environment kind of helps shape what number that you are. So everybody good with numbers so far? Good. So then we're going to, yes?
The role in the family when you were growing up?
Yes.
Versus your friends, okay.
Yep. In those early formative years, yes. Yeah. Okay, so then wings. People get confused about wings. They say, I'm a 3 with a 7 wing. That can't happen because where are wings on a bird? Wings on a bird are on their shoulders, so it has to be on this side or this side. You can't go across. Your wing, if you're a 3, you're either a 2 wing or a 4 wing. So if you're a 5, you're either a 4 wing or 6 wing. So your wing is whatever your primary number, whatever number you typed out as, it's going to be either to the left or the right. Does that make sense? So a wing is attached to you, which is on either side of you. So again, if you're a 9, you're an 8 or a 1 wing. And it's you're going to have, the truth is we have all of these numbers in us. One is dominant. And so your wing, one is going to be more dominant than the other. Mine is clearly more dominant than the other. So, but as we're talking about numbers, because your assessment more than likely didn't give you your wing, you'll just kind of self-identify which one is you. So as we're hearing the numbers, you're like, that's more me than that. Does that make sense so far too? Okay. So you will resonate with one more than the other. Okay. Yeah, so take good notes on the numbers on either side of you to see if you can figure that out. Okay. Good so far? Okay. So then these lines, you're like, what in the world? This looks like a satanic symbol, and it's not. It isn't. I had a book on my desk, and someone walked in, he was like, is that like the devil's Bible? And I'm like, no, it's just Enneagram. So, these lines that are connecting actually connect you to other numbers, as you can see, and that's what they call lines of development. So you're connected to another number, and they can be used, and we're going to unpack these a little bit more, is that they can be like red flags for you. So for example, I'm going to give it away because I was going to let y'all see if you could guess who it was, but I don't have time for that because it's too complicated. I'm a 2. So I'm a 2, I'm married to an 8, but you can see that we're connected. So these lines, I'm connected to 8, and I'm connected to 4. When I'm under stress, I go to an 8. So I go to the low side of 8. So all the nasty things about 8, that's what I become. It's beautiful. It's really loud and ugly, and it's just dominant. It's controlling, bossy. It's every worst thing about my husband is what I actually become, which is actually an interesting thing. So when he goes to the bad side of himself, he becomes over here to the low side of 2. So they're called lines of disintegration and integration. So disintegration, under stress, integration, and you have that on your little reference sheet. And it says stress and release. You see that on your reference sheet down to the bottom left. So that lets you know under stress, I go to 8. When I am in a good, healthy place, I go to the high side of 4. So all the positive qualities of a 4, which we're going to talk about their qualities here in a minute. So if you see on that reference sheet, whatever number you were, you're connected to 2 other numbers. Now, what they say about these is, so as I have learned about 8 and the low side of 8, I start seeing this in myself. And I'm going, this is a red flag. Mayday, Lisa. Mayday. You're about to destroy all relationships around you. So watch your mouth, Lisa. The back of your neck is hot and things are going crazy. You know, it's a sign to me. It's a red flag to me. So these can operate as indicators of what's happening. But it also is, I don't have to live in that low side. I can actually access the higher sides of 8, which is decisiveness, which I struggle with as a 2. So you can actually access those. That is something, and how to use the lines is so in depth, but I just wanted you to know what it was because you have it there. So if you are a 3, you know you're connected to 9, and there's great reasons why you are. You need your 9, and then you're connected to 6, and all of those things matter. All those connections matter. Any questions about lines of development? Because I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Yes, ma'am.
So I guess other numbers have different connections,
Yes.
but 3 has 6 and 9 continually, going between the release and the stress. So what does that mean?
Well, what I'm going to see if it says something. Yes, it is a triangle. Well, that's, well, 3 goes, yes, it is. That's actually another complexity of the Enneagram. Those 3 numbers are actually special. You're special. If you're 3, 6, and 9. You're special people because they are actually in the sense that it's a complicated thing, but they're called anchor numbers, and there's a whole nother layer with those 3 numbers that actually matters.
Great.
Yep. But you noticed something great. That's awesome. Yeah. Amy, do you have a question?
Yes, okay, so you said like your 8, do both numbers, you bring out the worst or one bring
No,
out the
I
best?
bring out, when I'm in a healthy place, I go to the high side of 4, so that
So
when it
the
says,
lower number is the,
no, if it says release, that's your healthy place. If it says stress, that's your,
where is that?
it's on your diagram.
Okay.
Yeah, the little reference thing, yep, right there. So for example, if you were a 3, let's just say, your low side is 9 and your high side is 6. So it isn't low like moving, it's low like stress or release. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on the wings.
Yes.
Is that important on which one's either on the side of you, or if you took the percentage test, does it tell you, are those other 2 ones your wings versus the circle?
So, if I understand your question right.
Well, I took your test and it gave me percentages instead of giving me like, it gave me a number, but then its percentages is what my other 2 were.
Yes.
So are those my wings?
They are not your wings.
Okay.
That's another complexity.
Oh,
which
okay,
gives
sorry.
you another. No, it's good. I'm glad you're recognizing that. So, for example, I'm high 2 in percentage, but I'm also very high 6,
Okay.
which really throws people on me because I'm a threat assessor, and that's what 6s are. We're going to get into that in a minute, but nonetheless, but that isn't my wing. I'm just really high in 6. So my wing, I'm actually 1 high order, high detail, attention to detail, which explains a lot of things that we've talked about earlier today. My, parenting, my values that I love orderliness and cleanliness. So that's on me. I don't have much 3 in me because I have the percentages to know that I don't. It's not non-existent, but it's not my high number. But I am high 6, but that doesn't matter. My number is 2. And so the question that she asked me when I was trying to figure this out is, do you want to help people or do you want to keep people safe? And predominantly, I want to help people, which is the helper. So, good question. You can be high in another number and it not be your wing, but your wing has to be on the either right or left of you. Good question. Very cool. Okay. All right. So, we talked about the release and stretch, but you can borrow from the positive qualities of either side. Now, the next that is on your list that there's nothing to fill in on, but it's called the Centers of Intelligence, and I want you to scratch the word intelligence out, because that's a typo, and it should say emotions. Center of Emotions. So, my very, I'm not even first grade drawing. I have here 2s, 3s, and 4s are in the heart center of emotion. 2s, 3s, and 4s have a little heart by them. I don't know if they have did I give you on that little?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have it right there. Heart, yes. So, they actually, heart, head is 5, 6, and 7. They're thinkers, they're cerebral people. 8, 9, and 1s are body, meaning they're action-oriented, instinctive. I'm going to unpack that just a little bit. So, heart they're highly emotionally intelligent people. They have a social presence. They can read a room, feel a room of like emotional things, what's going on with people. They have a compulsion to make connections. They love connecting with people. They also could be challenged with comparison, comparing their lives to other people's lives. This is still a heart center, 2, 3, and 4. 2s want to be loved for how they help other people, who they are to other people. 3s want to be loved because they want to be admired. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a shift in that. 2s want to be loved for who they are, what they do for you. 3s want to be loved for being admired, successful. And 4s want to be loved because they want to be individuals. They want to be set apart from everyone. They are unique people. So that's the heart center. So if we jump over to the hand, which my little baby hand's here, 8, 9, and 1. That hand is, it's called body, same thing. I actually like it because it's all H's, so James put body, but it really is. So it's a body, they call it the body, the gut, or the hand. Same thing. Body, gut, hand, same thing. Heart is heart, but yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So these guys experience life through intuitive, built-in instincts, and they're very action-oriented. They're tactical in engagement with you, and with their senses, they're very excited. They can be very excited, passionate people. They do experience waves of intensity, and that intensity they all handle differently. 8, 9s, and 1s, but their body action-oriented. Heart-oriented, body-oriented action, and then 5, 6, and 7 are head. So they are thinkers. They're in their heads in different ways, but their competency is a part of how they find stability in life. They're able to have a good self-actualization or self-preservation. They want to self-preserve themselves. 5s analyze information to predict the future. They want to research and understand the why behind everything. 6s are on constant alert for threat assessing, and 7s use their minds to make sure they keep a lot of opportunities open for them. So they're all in their head. Now, of course, that all looks different in different ways, but it's you can actually, yeah, heart, hand, and head. Any questions? Good? All right. Very good. Okay, so I think we're ready to get into some numbers. I'm so excited about these friends of ours. They're so awesome. One other thing. On your sheet, which actually makes a difference, is here where it says subtypes. See it, everybody, on your quick reference? You may want to make some notes of this, because this is another complexity of Enneagram, which actually is more important than your wing, is knowing your subtype. And that is a discovery to happen, and different assessments will tell you what your subtype is, but this is what you need to know about it. So for every number, they would identify as one of these subtypes. Self-preservation, one-on-one, or social. So this actually makes them not 9 numbers, but 27 numbers. So, 1, for example, I'm a self-pres 1. No, I'm a self-pres 2. So, but people would identify self-pres, one-on-one, or social in each area. You got me? So every number would identify with one of these. If you're, whatever number you are, you would then end up identifying, connecting with one of these subtypes. Everybody with me? I'm about to explain. Okay. So, the self-preservation person is I-focused. So at a party, a self-preservation person is going to go to the party. They're going to park where, and this is obviously generalization, they're going to park where they can get out because they know they have to get up early the next morning. There's supposed to be food there, but they ran out, so they're definitely leaving early because they're hungry and they planned on eating there. They're concerned about their safety, their security, and their well-being. They're I-focused. I'm self-present. Doesn't mean I'm selfish. It just means I have a slant toward making sure all is well in my world. Does that make sense so far with self-pres? Okay, one-on-ones are very, they are us people. They're at the party or talking to one person, the party's over, they're still talking to that person, their cell phone's turned down, they haven't even seen a text because they're just so enamored with their conversation of getting to know Susie Bob. They're just there. They're there. So one-on-one, they are more intense people, intense relationally with people. because they're one-on-one. Social is we focused. So they will go into a party and they'll be like, I'm gonna talk to Amy, then I'm gonna get over and talk to Ryan, and then I'm gonna get over and talk to Sue. So they're gonna work the room, and they're gonna have a strategy of working the room. They're socially oriented. So you would, regardless of your number, doesn't matter what your number is, you're gonna identify more, you're gonna resonate with all of them. I resonate with 2, but I'm dominant in self-preservation. I resonate with social, because there's a lot of things social about me, but I definitely resonate, I am self-pres. Does that make sense? So no matter what your number is, the next thing that I would say, I said, what's your number? And then I would say, what's your subtype? Because subtypes cause people to think they're other numbers, because they look different. You just, there's whole books written on subtypes, because it just makes, it's a whole other level. Any questions about subtypes? I see a few confused faces, and I want to make sure you understand. Feeling good? Your question could be a question someone else is thinking. Yes, ma'am.
Does that change at all over time?
That does not change, no. And this, I would say, you are, one's just more dominant, but you will definitely vacillate more. But you would just go, like, I really feel like I'm a social 2. When I hear what I just told you, I go, I'm a social 2. But when I took the more intensive test, I come out as a self-pres 2. So it does look different, because self-preses can mistype as other numbers. So it depends on what subtype you are. You could actually, that could be why. Like, I did a coaching session with a guy. He said he was a 2. He was confident he was 2. He took some tests. He thought he was a 2. Took the assessment, and he was a 7. But he's a social 7, which, guess what? Mistypes as a 2, because they're warmer. They're the warmer of the 7s, because each of these subtypes help unpack your number that much more. So it really is like a double click on your number. That's what you're doing. You go, oh, I'm a 3. Hit it. You clicked it, the button, and it drops down, and it says these 3 things. You click it, and you got this whole fleet of information based on your number. So see how complicated it is. It's a complex little thing. Okay, very good. Very good. All right, so all of that is done. So we're now jumping over to onto the numbers. I always start with 1, but then the 9s always feel sad. I actually was thinking, because they're like, when are you ever going to get to me? So I can't bop around, because I'm too much of a 1. I got to stay in the right. I got to stay in the right order. So, but I'm going to try to click through these. And not rushing, but at the same time, I want to make sure we have time for Q&A. And if there is every number in the room, I wouldn't mind, if you're open for it, is to do a panel of 9 and interview you on your number, which I think is always a learning curve if you're open for that. So start practicing in your mind if you would want to do that. So if we have time, I'd love it. I think there's a lot learned in panels, even if you're not real familiar with it. As you get to it, it would be fun. So. Okay, so the 1 is referred to, there's lots of different names, it depends on who you read, what they call them, but they're known as the perfectionist, or the good person. They are principled people, so I said they're the good person, they're perfectionists, I think that's written on your notes. They are principled people, they have the ability to see there's more potential for things to be right. They value correctness. They value order. In a healthy place, they're more grace-focused than guilt-focused. They have an inner critic that is loud to them. They have a very loud inner critic that's telling them all that they're doing wrong and all that others are doing wrong. The subtypes on that is the social 1 wants to correct other people, where the self-pres 1 wants to correct themselves. They're even harder on themselves. That just gives you a little bit of like, if you know a 1 in your life and you know they're self-critical, telling them to stop being self-critical probably isn't the nicest thing, because it's just how they're wired. Let them be, they'll figure it out. But they have great conviction. They see things black and white. There's no gray. No gray to be had or seen. They're a bit intolerable with failure, both theirs and other people. They are not so much accepting of their limits and losses. So They have, it's not always the case, but our typical grow up in families that expect a lot from them, or we're very critical on them. These kinds of things that happen in the family could actually have happened, or they could just be perceived. So if you're a mom in here, I've already thought about it because my son's a 6. I'm like, what'd I do to him? If he's a 6, or what'd I do to her because she's a 5? You know, you don't do stuff. These like things that happen in our childhood actually could be just perceived how we perceive the world. It doesn't mean that you were abused or whatever. So anywho, okay. So they actually each of these numbers have a polarity, meaning they're trying to live in the balance of 2 things. And each of them, I'm going to give you each of them for each number. But the polarity for the 1 is everything has to be perfect or it's just imperfect. There's no middle ground. It's perfect or it's imperfect. And if you thought about being a 1, knowing that, can you imagine how tormented this poor person is trying to get things right all the time and get it all details right? That yesterday I was setting up the name tags. And Amy came by and messed them up. And I was like, who messed up the name tags? I was given this task and they were nice and neat, and it was her. So she's like, what did I do? What did I do? Notice my 1 is so strong, I love order, but you know, I'm like, who messed it up? Who messed it up? But you know what, in the environment I'm in, my leader loves my high order. She loves my attention to detail because it gets busy. And so when I see things, I'm like, that's out of place where it admits to. Someone didn't pick up the trash, you need to get it. That tablecloth doesn't match that tablecloth. This isn't right. It is actually a benefit if it actually benefits. But if I don't settle down, I can destroy relationships, and Amy's going to go crawling into the corner. These 1s strive for excellence as a moral duty. They strive for excellence as a moral duty. The interesting thing is each of these numbers, and it's too hard to go into, but especially if you start reading, I would want you to know, deal with a besetting sin. A sin or a struggle. I like to say struggle because sin sounds so harsh, you know, so let's just go with the sin or the struggle that's hard for a 1 is anger, which is really interesting. All of these all the body deals with anger, but they do it in different ways. 1s deal with anger. It doesn't usually come out. It's internal. But when things do not go well, it is internally very hard for them. So if you have 1s in your life, again, this should cause you to have compassion or empathy for them, that they're not just trying to be obstinate and irritating. It literally is difficult for them. It would be like telling Amy she needs to stop winning. Stop caring about winning. No, she cares about winning. Does she need to live in moderation of it? Yes. But is she ever going to stop caring? No, she always is going to do that. So that would be like telling a 1 to stop caring about details and being perfect. So there's this inner struggle there. So, okay. I love this, is the lies 1 believes. The lies 1 believes that it is not okay to make a mistake. That's the lie they believe. And I have to be perfect to be loved. That's the lie they believe. And what 1s need to know, which I loved our exercise last night of whispering those things. I almost wanted to turn around and hug the person who whispered in my ear my words, but it was only 1 person who did it. My phrase that I wanted, I was like, I felt myself smiling. I'm like, how did you hear that? So, but this is what 1s need to hear. You are loved for who you are, not how good you are. So they have to wrestle with that. So that is the 1 in a nutshell. Okay. 2.
So you think a lie?
Okay, yes. The lie. The lie is it's not okay to make a mistake, and I have to be perfect. So that's the lie they believe. And the truth they need to hear, whispered in their ear, with someone holding their shoulders, so sweet, is that you are loved for who you are, not how good you are. So, okay, 2s. They are called the helper or the loving person. They're relational, they're generous, they're warm, they're humble, thoughtful, empathetic. Should I go on about the 2? What can we say about the 2? We're encouraging, compassionate people. We're self-sacrificing. We're others-oriented. The twos are of the heart. They are the warmest of the heart. The warmest in engaging and warmth with people. They can assess a need and fulfill it before you even know. Do you need a drink? I'll get you a drink. Or you need to cut off, you hot, you want to take it. So, I mean, they're like, they see, know, and they can read feelings very quickly. If someone's distraught, they usually know and can see it. The sad thing about twos is they can see that in other people and know what they need, but they don't know what they need themselves. So if asked, what do you need? I don't know. And they don't like asking for help either. So they'll wash your feet, but they don't want theirs washed. So if a two is healthy, they're in touch with their emotions and their spiritual needs and are willing to be vulnerable with other people and ask for help. They are mistaken as being passive. They are not passive. Yes, ma'am.
Did you just say they don't know what they need and they don't like to ask for help?
Yes.
And then did you just say you like that they ask for help?
No, if you're healthy,
Oh, healthy.
if you're healthy too, you will learn how to ask for help
Okay.
and receive help. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, they don't. Well, they may not ask for help because they don't know what help they need.
Right.
No, because they're yes.
This may be a question for later, but if you want me to answer later, that's fine. But what if you took the test one time and you got one thing and then you got another thing? Is it you having an identity issue, or you just like are so close to both of them that you just can't really differentiate?
Well, it was interesting because if you remember at the beginning, Amy sent out a free assessment to you guys, and then a paid assessment. Well, I actually had all my clients who did the paid assessment take the free assessment so I could verify it always came out as their number. So I was so excited about this because I don't think you have to pay to know your number. You can just do it and know. And if you really want to dive deep, then you pay. So what I did, and I started figuring out that this assessment, a free one, was spot on every time with all the paying clients. Well, someone figured this out and they made it a charged assessment. Remember, you called me back and you're like, hey, it turned into a charged assessment. And somebody's figured out what all of us are doing is which actually giving people free assessments on that tool. But yet then so all that to say is that there's a science behind this assessment, and so like the one I'm trained in is 95% accurate because they have actually been developing it for 12 years. But I think you can pretty much figure out when we go through these numbers, you'll kind of go, that's not me. You know, so if they gave you a couple of numbers, you'll figure it out. So no worries. Good? Perfect. All right. So we're still talking about the two. If a two is healthy, they would be able to help other people without strings attached. So a two may offer to help and say, oh, I'm glad to do it. But they're more than likely, if not healthy, there's an expectation that you're going to return that. Or there's going to be some great affirmation. So if you really want to disturb a two, is never appreciate them for what they do. Just let them keep doing, and never say thank you, and never say a genuine thank you. If you really want to kill them, that's what you can do. I was saying is that they're mistaken as being passive because they're warm, but guess who they're connected to? One of the most non-passive person in the Enneagram, the 8. So they will get direct if needed. Yes, it will happen. And if it's under a good, healthy emotional state, it'll be pretty and it'll be nice. But otherwise, it may not be. They are burden lifters. They lift burdens from people, and they're the most gracious of all of the Enneagram. So that's the two. Okay, so the polarity. Remember, I told you there's the tension they're living in. The polarity for the two is selfless or selfish. So they usually are just one or the other. They're either selflessly giving or they're selfish. They vacillate back and forth from that. And I can attest it's really not pretty. And it's usually all in my head. Like all the things I'm thinking that I've done, and you're not even cleaning the kitchen, you're not even helping, and I've just served my brains out, and y'all all had fun sitting in there, and I'm in here. So it just turns into this nasty thing. So that's their polarity, is selfless and selfish. And the truth is they have a pride issue. Twos have pride issues. the interesting thing is 2s, 3s, and 4s are all image conscious. Not necessarily negative, it can be negative, but how they look or how they're perceived actually matters. All of the art is. So the lie for them, for 2s, it's not okay to be needy. The lie they believe is it's not okay to be needy. But they need to know the truth that you are needy and it's okay. You can be needy. It's all right. Okay. All right. Action is to ask. Let's reverse. Anyone who, if you're okay with sharing, who's ones in the room? Where are ones? Can I get a? I did not see you as a one. Okay, so can you tell me what image you had just real quick on your drawing? An image. What was it? Ones. Shout it out. Beach, water. Okay. Heart, love. Holding the heart up. Cross, love, heart. Yep. I can't see way back there.
A tree.
A tree. Okay. With apples?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ocean with waves.
Ocean with waves.
And I kind of went along with the ocean song and I put at the bottom, my faith is being made stronger.
Good. I love it. I love it.
That's
Okay.
crazy that she had the...
Yes, she had ocean too. Okay, so who are the 2s in the room?
What'd you say?
2s. Who's a 2 in the room? Okay, so what was your image?
A smiling sun and a heart.
Yes, of course. Ah, I like that. Yeah. Okay. 2s back here.
Sunshine, positive.
Yes. Yes.
A hand and
Oh, Was there another 2 back here?
I can't tell if I'm a 2 or a 9. I was hoping that you would get to the 9 because I'm like right on the cusp for that.
Okay, what did
That's why
you
I keep
draw?
asking those questions.
Yeah, that's all right. What did you draw?
Layered heart with open hands
Yeah.
on a cloud.
Hearts are, it's interesting, when we get to 9s, we'll talk about it after.
Okay.
So that's good, I love it. So that's all I wanted to, yes ma'am?
I was going to put a heart, but when you said at the beginning, heart and don't put a heart, I put.
Here, you could put a heart, I just didn't, yeah. So
I
it's
did
kind of-
sunshine too though.
Very good. Okay, so let's move to the 3. The 3 is known as the effective person. They are an achiever. We're on to 3. Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
we didn't go with number 2, sin. Did we discuss that or did I miss it?
Right.
It was pride.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. This is, we
Thank you.
can all ask questions. It's better to ask along the journey than try to ask and go back. Okay, so 3 is the effective person, the achiever. These people help other people see their significance. Actually, we'll probably be surprised about some of the things. Can I just go on and say, Amy, that you're a 3? So that is like her wanting to help people. Okay, I already said it, so you guys are. So, Amy, is it okay to tell everyone you're a 3? So, you can actually hear this with her. She wants to help other people see their potential. Such a positive 3 thing. These people are driven. They can accomplish what you don't think you can accomplish. They accomplish it and more. You think it's impossible to accomplish it? They're going to do it. That was her on this vision for this. She was not turning back. I've seen her negotiate, and it is intense. Yeah. So she's very driven. These people are very driven. They're relatable. They're upbeat. They're self-assured. They are competitive, which I thought that was fun with her. They are success driven. On the flip side, this can cause your source of that to be lonely and feeling misunderstood. So your success sometimes causes, or the desire, the motivation for it can cause you to be misunderstood sometimes, and or you could feel lonely. Then the thing that they have to work on when unhealthy is to continuously push themselves so hard that they don't rest. 3s are known to create margin to fill it with other things. So they created space, so now we can do all of these things. That wasn't for rest, just kidding. It was to fill it with these other 10 tasks. I can get one more thing done, I'm sure of it. My checklist is almost done, and I'm gonna get it. I'm going to make it. So, they're effective, competent, adaptable. They are also emotionally intelligent, so they can actually read and feel what's going on in a room and with people. They're not the strongest at that of the 2 and the 4, but it's still there. So they are great at identifying people's emotions. They are preoccupied with speed and efficiency. So if they are around another number, they are the most, one of the 3 most energetic numbers on the Enneagram. So they have energy to spare. So if you're a 3 and you're working with another number and you're making them crazy, you may need to back off and let them have a little space. Because you are wired, really I say God has graced you to do a lot of things, but not everyone is graced to do the same things that you're able to do. And so it's being okay that you can do that, but not everyone can do that. Okay, so their struggle is with deceit. Actually, these names are just so bad, you know, but it is what it is. Like mine's pride, and one is, yes, it's just not fun. But 3's is deceit, and it is actually keeping up with, I'm okay, I can do all of this, I'm okay, everything's good, it's going to be great. So it's more deceiving themselves. But they're actually known of the Enneagram, the chameleon. They can become whatever needs to be in the moment is required. So if the room needs this, or the energy needs this, or this needs to be done, they can adapt and do just about anything, which makes them phenomenal leaders, as long as they don't overextend themselves and wear themselves out in doing so. So their polarity, remember I talked to you about the 2 different things that they live in? They're either winning or they're failing. It's either an A or an F. There's no B, C, or D, and there's nothing in between A or F, win, fail, lose, loss, win or lose. It's that polarity, there's no in between for that. So if you think about the 1 is perfect, not perfect. This is where they live in the tension of that. So again, it helps you kind of get an idea of who they are and what they are. Okay, 3s. The lie they believe, it is not okay to be seen as a failure. And they need to know you are loved for who you are, not what you do. So this is a place of development, all of these lies that each number believes. So for myself, I am loved whether I help someone or not. Whether I'm saving the day, because 2s like to be they like to fill the gaps for everything, and someone just can't do life without you, Lisa. You know, so how are we gonna make it if she's not here? I'm indispensable. So that's a very negative, that's a negative place to live, unhealthy place for me to live. So the idea of this lie is that I need to be needed to be loved. I need to work on going, I can be loved without actually helping anybody. So in here lies some things that you can help work on yourself. So for a 3 to go, I fail and I fail forward. It's okay. I don't have to be perfect. The 1 says it's good enough. You know what I'm saying? So in the lies, it's some place to work and hard work to do. I think in the reflection time when you're away, any of these things that come up, go, what is it in me? Where have I seen that play out? Those are good questions to ask. What can I do to kind of reverse that or practice? And I'll give you some of my tools that I've been practicing on myself. Yes?
Can you say what the 3s need to hear again?
The 3s need to hear you are loved for who you are, not what you do.
And you said the lie they believe was, how did you word that?
Okay. No, it's okay. It's not okay to be seen as a failure. Basically, yeah, it's not okay to be seen as a failure. The 4s are the original person, the individualist. They are known as the romantic of the Enneagram. Yeah, that is, Amy talked about loving the romantic. Oh gosh, thank you. 3s. Who were in the 3s? Stars, 4. Oh my stars in heaven. world go round. That's awesome. So I would love to hear some of your images. Threes. Start with you, Amy.
Mine was a sunset with a cross and heart.
Okay, very good.
Mine was a heart that said loving and being loved, and then a whole bunch of other things that are important to me.
Okay, gotcha. Ryan, at the first, so we don't forget to.
I have praying hands and I wrote humility, and then I have a present and a dollar sign and an arrow like I'm gifting it, like gifting, and then I put a mountain range and said adventurer.
Very good, love it. Yeah.
I have my family, a heart. I put nature as well, and a finish line.
Yeah.
I have a medal.
I put family, faith, my love, my passion, what I do, and water.
Very good. I think there's a connection to water here. So did everyone at this table finish? All threes at this table is finished?
Yes.
Yeah. This table, were there any threes right here at this second meeting?
I put up, I drew a big house, and I wrote future, home, family, career, accomplishment.
Love it. Any more threes at this table? Nope. Back table, threes?
You said to what reflects you, so I just did what reflected me today. And I drew the four of us on the beach talking to each other.
I didn't remember the threes love to connect with people, so that actually makes sense. So, okay. Anyone else three back there?
I didn't want to say it, but all those things that you said, like the medals, the vacationing, I even tried to draw a trendy mansion. Like all of that was like winning.
Yeah. There's another three back here. Yeah.
I drew my son, I drew a briefcase for work, I drew myself like strong like that, and then also like tears, because that's on the inside, you know, even though I'm like presenting also these other things, and then pink, because I like pink, and my family and friends in a very small circle of trust.
Well, threes do like to reframe things to be positive, so the pink makes sense. So. The back table. No threes back there. Very good. Please stop me if I get so excited and moving on to other numbers. So I have a feel. I'm curious about fours in the room, but I'm not going to ask it. Okay. So fours are original person. They're individualists. They're dramatic. They're artistic. They're melancholy. They're introspective. They're intuitive. I said they're the romantics of the Enneagram. They actually express beauty, creativity. They are very creative people, emotionally expressive through song, poetry, the arts. When emotionally healthy, they're in touch with their own feelings, but also with other people's feelings. They're compassionate people. They're energetic, great listeners, sensitive. This is when they're healthy. They are witty, imaginative, and self-expressive. Some of their, when not so healthy, they can be moody, overdramatic, melancholy. They are very acquainted with pain. They probably process their pain and how that makes them feel. They can get stuck in living in that place of like, it's just so good. They could have some Eeyore issues, you know, woe is me, life is tough, I don't know. You know, so that's been an unhealthy place. They are misunderstood as self-absorbed, but they're really just trying to, their search is for significance and meaning in life. So they just really think about things. I just was spending time with the four the other day, and she's just so disturbed with the world today. She's just like, all I see are these negative things, and I'm really trying to get out of it. You know, so she's very acquainted with Enneagram and herself, so she's trying to pull out because she knows that they have this frustrated idealism. They just want things to be right, and they want to be unique, and so they want to be the only four in the world. And the truth is, if there was another four in the room, they would probably question their fourness. They're like, I am the most unique. I was doing this with our youth pastors. There's about 30 of them, the team, and so there was one four in the room. She's like, I am unique. I'm the only four in this whole room. And then she's just dramatic to all what you were saying. We're glad there's only one. so intense. So they their sin is envy. again, all of these sound so horrible. They're not necessarily just the way they sound, but there just is something missing in their life. They're just trying to find it. And I think everyone else has it and they don't. So there's this intense longing to be something that they don't have or get. So the polarity for them, the two words for them is I'm unique or I'm ordinary. I'm unique or I'm ordinary. So they live in this place of they really want to be unique and different than everyone else. I don't know if it's true, but I imagine these people who have purple hair and lots of fun, expressive clothes, I'm just thinking that's unique. I don't know that they're all fours, but that's what I think of, is they just are expressing themselves as a unique person. Let's see, they feel deeply. They actually understand the range of emotions. So, for example, just to give you an example, as a 2, when I go to the healthy place, I actually have great empathy, but I can also see the range of emotions with myself and with other people. It helps me be able to listen well and understand what's going on. But just the vastness of being very sad and being very happy, they just understand that whole range and everything in between. So they're pretty cool people. They help us understand that too. They can be over dramatic. They also are emotionally intelligent, and it's interesting. They call them that they like to play hide and seek. That they have this thing in them that they cannot really fully be known because they're so unique. They're uniquely unique, and so they can't really be known, but they really want you to try. They really want you to seek them out. So, can you figure me out? Probably not. Can you figure me out? No, you can't. So it's like, I got things you don't know in here. So it's just, they're fun people. The sad thing is, in the Enneagram world, they're beaten up for because they're just hard to describe because they're just that unique. So if you listen to any podcast on 4s, there's a lot of melancholy and drama with them, but it's just hard to describe them. Any 4s in the room?
Well, no, but I have a friend. Yeah, she told me her number was 4, and you got her pegged.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a 4.
They actually, the tool that I'm trained in is for corporate use, and they have very few 4s. 4s have a hard time being in a corporate world. And yes, ma'am?
Do they have more tendencies to feel like they need psychological help?
They would deal with depression. Yeah. They would. Actually, oh gosh, Bob Dylan's a 4. I wish I would have had all the list of who's what. Hillary Clinton's a 1. Sophia Loren is a 2. I'm trying to think. But yeah, 4s. A lot of the 4 icons that we know have had very trouble with that. I don't know about that. I think there's some speculation, but yeah, you're right. Some a 4 would deal with depression. Not that any number couldn't deal with depression, but some numbers deal with anxiety more than others. But it's not actually clinically proven. Tested, researched out. That is the one thing about Enneagram. It actually, like psychologists and licensed counselors use this as a tool, but it isn't actually researched and proven to be. It just hasn't gone through that gamut of things. So, but nonetheless, so it wouldn't really be fair to say that only 4s deal with depression, but it is true that it's likely. Yeah. Very good. Okay, so the lie that 4s believe is it's not okay to be functional or too happy. So they just can't. It's not okay to be functional or too happy. They just feel like that is not being. They have to. It's just too happy. They can't be too happy. Like that can't be true. So I would just say they believe that you can't be too happy.
Number 4 believes that?
4 believes that. And you need to be seen and valued for who you are. So because they just live in this place of processing pain, it's very hard for them just to be, they're definitely not going to be jumping around in the room and creating a lot of energy and energetic people. Yeah. So you can, you are seen and valued for who you are. That speaks to their uniqueness. Okay.
Can I ask a question
Yes.
about that? I know we don't have any course, but my sister is like my best friend, is 100% a 4. Like, she works at Disney World. She wears themed clothing despite the fact that she doesn't have a uniform. You know, like, and she's the person who walks in the room and says, you're going to listen to me. I have a different perspective. It's going to make everything better. Like, she's just very in your face. But as her sister and the helper, my mother cannot take it, right? So as like, because I'm thinking it's all about our relationships with people. So what can you do to help that person be, I don't know, like, here I am trying to help, but like.
I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's kind of
very funny.
Yeah.
Just trying to help. Yeah.
Right, like because I think you talked about nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
And so my mother would be like, I don't know what we did to Sean, that she feels this need to play push me pull you with her. So
yeah, I think obviously that's
just tell them the truth, that truth they need to hear.
Yeah. I think it's too. Wouldn't you agree that whatever we ourselves need to learn is like a self-discovery? It's like how are you staying self-aware and changing the things that are really softening the sharp edges on yourself. So I know that I need to do that to myself, so your sister needs to figure out those kind of things, but then your mom needs to also have empathy and appreciate that she's going to be different,
Right, I'm going to love you even if you're too much for me right now.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right, but, there she goes, drama, it's all, but at the same time, it's like the tug of that of going, we need to be okay with people's strengths, and that's the piece of who they are, but have empathy for them to be, but then we ourselves need to go, we need to work on that. We can't just use that excuse all the time. Well, I'm a helper and I'm codependent and that's the way I am. That's not a mature thing to say. That's not a growing thing. As leaders, we want to grow. As women, moms, sisters, friends, we want to grow, and so I think it's self-awareness, because hopefully she will gain some self-awareness and your mom will gain self-awareness. Okay, so fives. Fives are called the investigator, the quiet specialist. They're the wise person. The wise person. They are perceptive. They're informed. Most of them are introverted. Not all, but most. They can feel a bit detached. They kind of go off into their little castle in their mind and kind of just dwell there and disconnect with people. They're brilliant. They're lifelong learners. They're keen observers of social environments, but they are painfully awkward in them, typically. You guys, I was talking about my Alex in the parenting class. My Alex is a 5. She's the geek, self-proclaimed geek. She is, and she's socially very awkward. She's beautiful, but she's like, this is just all painful to me. So with the interaction with people, it takes a lot of energy. So it takes a lot of energy for 5s to be with people. They need to retreat and have space and time. They're in their head the most. They can be withdrawn. If a 5 picks you as a friend, you are a very special person. Because 5s choose wisely. They think through. They think through this process. Can they handle you? Can you handle them? So if they select you, they're very faithful friends. But they have few friends. They don't have lots of friends. They're not the 3 who's collecting people. They have a need for privacy. They store up energy in their mind. It's a way for them to understand and process. But their sin is called greed, which is unusual, but it's 2 reasons. Number 1, they're greedy with their energy. They do not want to expel energy to people that are going to take from them. They do not share. They're very knowledgeable. They don't always like to share their information that they've learned and worked hard for, and you want to just cash in on it. So my daughter's a techie. She is an amazing photographer, videographer, but when other photographers want to rip her aesthetic and just take because they just saw it on Instagram, she gets so undone by this. Or they want her to give a tutorial of her camera. She's like, no, go to a class or learn the way I have to. She just is, they're greedy with what they know. They can be greedy with what they know. So it's not greedy with money necessarily, it's knowledge and really mostly their space. They need more time to process. So in conflict, if you're dealing with a 5 and you want to get to the bottom of it, and you're going, we're going to get to this today. We're going to come to wrap this sucker up and we're all going to feel great right now. If you're doing that to a 5, they are going to retreat on you. They need time away from you to process and don't think they're just like shunning you. They They love questions. Let's see. Their polarity is you're either wise or you're foolish. And they don't like to be foolish at all. They want to make great decisions. If you want to know what to buy, they've probably researched it. My husband has 2 5s on his team. When they come to him with something, he pretty much knows they got all of their ducks in a row, and they've already researched everything, and it's probably the best app, the best whatever to get, and he's not challenging them. So the truth is 5s are probably 95% of the time right in what they've discovered, what they know. So they're great. The 5 is the person who created the tool for this particular Enneagram tool that I'm involved with. So they pride themselves on data, information, quality of things, that they would know that. But they are, even though they have this 3 thing, they're very generous in relationships. And they're very thoughtful and surprising. So it's, but they do, I just think the big thing to know about what they need is that they need space and time, and people drain their energy. Okay, the lies 5 believe is you are strong enough not to need assistance. You're strong enough not to basically need anybody. And or you don't need comfort from other people. So they really believe they are self-sufficient. If I'm not self-sufficient, I'm not doing all that I need to do or all I can be. And so they need to know that your needs aren't a problem. The truth they need to hear is your needs aren't a problem. They're similar to the 2 in that regard. The 5 that's on my husband's team, he leads a team of 8 or 9 leaders. And he realized when I was talking to him about his 5ness, he said, I'm so self-efficient, I didn't know my team actually needed things from me. I just thought they were all self-sufficient, but they actually needed things from me. So he wasn't like, he was actually thinking he was being a great leader, like, oh, they got it all. They know I'm self-sufficient, so is everyone else. Well, not everyone else is as sufficient as you are 5. 5s are very self-sufficient, but they need to be okay needing people. Any 5s in the room?
Do 5s tend to be men? Do 5s mostly tend to be men? I feel like, I'm not all of them, just saying, does it have like a, they tell you more, it's like?
It doesn't, no, it actually does tell you how often married people find each other, like what numbers, the percentage of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it probably does tell you. The people that I've worked with, two of the 5s are guys and 1 is a girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you find a lot of 5s are only children, or like only child, like they grew up?
The ones I know are not only kids. The one I was speaking of actually had his family life was very distraught. He had to fend for himself a lot as a young child, so I think he's used to being self-sufficient. But no, they're not only. From what the 3 that I know that I've worked with are not only children, and my daughter isn't only child.
I think she's the oldest.
Yeah. They are all the oldest. Interesting. They're the 3 5s I know are the oldest of their siblings. So that may be something. Okay, we ready to move to 6? I want to make sure we have some time for questions. We're already at 3:23. Okay, the 6 is the loyal person. They're also known as the loyal skeptic. They're very skeptical. These people are obviously loyal. They're committed. Their steadfastness. They bring stability to a team. They're available. They're present. What they say they're going to do, they're going to do. You can count on them. They just provide a very stabilizing presence in the world. They have the ability to ground people in reality and draw out their emotions. So they have a very good sense of reality. When they're healthy, they're secure, they're charming, they're hardworking. My son is a 6. Reliable, affectionate, funny. They're great people. They're troubleshooters because they are threat assessors. They're in the head. Remember, 5's in the head. They're in their head trying to figure out why behind everything. 6 is in their head to actually threat assess everything. What could go wrong? How can we get ahead of it? But you can tell if they live in that world too long, they're going to be anxious. and fearful because their mind's always working, trying to figure out what's going to happen, what can we do. But they're great troubleshooters on a team because they can probably project all the different ways that someone can come in this building and can be lost. So how are we going to make sure that everyone knows where Refresh Retreat's going to be? Because they're just thinking and using their brains so much. They're always on alert. They're always on alert, looking around. Doubting is a part of their process. They need to know that doubting is actually okay as long as they don't live in the doubting land of just doubting everything. This is why they're going to be skeptical, because they're actually just threat assessing everything. They can be perceived and can be pessimistic. They can stay in their head, overanalyze, and become debilitated in making a decision because they're there, and they can be suspicious. If they don't watch out for themselves. But they are strategic thinkers. They're perceptive and discerning. So yes. So their polarity is safety and risk. Safe or risky. So it's safety or risky. It's one or the other. So they're just living in the land of the two of those things. The interesting thing, if we go back to, I don't want to confuse you, but I do find it with the sixes really interesting. Remember the subtypes, self-preservation, one-on-one, and social. Remember those three subtypes we talked about? Those go with all of them. And this one, so would you think a Marine who wants to go on the front lines is a six? Would you think, just what I said, what I talked about threat assessing, would you really think that they have anxiety, they're fearful? Do you think that based on that they would be on the front lines as a Marine jumping out of a helicopter right into a orchard? No. Well, the interesting thing is the one-on-one six, that subtype, are actually daredevils. They are people who are jumping off of buildings and doing crazy things because they face fear by doing it. So the two others, self-pres and the social six, are more fearful. But if someone's like my son is not a one-on-one. He is very fearful. Like he was thinking about doing helicopter. He was working with a helicopter company. They said, we'll license you as a helicopter pilot. And he saw one helicopter go down. He's like, I'm done. I can't do this. So he doesn't face fear with fight. He faces fear with retreat. So a six who is a one-on-one looks very different than all other sixes. That's why those subtypes are so critical, is because they actually make different, their number within itself look different. But that's the most unique one that most people talk about being so different. So sixes, they do struggle with their anxiety and fear would be their sin. So if they operate by fear, not good. They need to get control of their threat assessing and live in a land of like, that's there, but I can live and not be in fear that everything's going to fall apart around me. So their lie is, it's not okay to trust yourself. It's not okay to trust yourself, and the truth that they need to hear is you are safe. My son, as being a 6'3" guy, big old guy, burly guy, my Thor of the family, I asked him the other day, I said, it's known that your generation feels anxiety and stress. I never see any on him. He is like, content. And he's like, yes. I said, do you feel stressed? And he's like, yes. I'm like worried about what's going to happen in the world. I mean, he's like carrying a lot of like what's happening in the world is stressing to him. So for that generation, number one, they carry stress, but for a 6, they would carry stress more. They actually say that America used to be a 3. Success, accomplishments, achievements. Can you see that? That if you had to type the US of A, it would normally be typed as a 3 in the past. It is beginning to be typed as a 6 because of the world that we live in, of fear. And so I just think that that's interesting because they'll type different countries, but that feeling, that anxiousness is all under just in their heart, which doesn't that just compel like this empathy and compassion for a 6? You're going, instead of just going, gosh, they're always so negative. Gosh, they're devil's advocate on everything. Is you're going, they're actually, that there's value in that if they're living in a healthy place. Any 6s in the room? My stars. I think there's self-selecting.
Yes, but sorry, you said there, like with the connection, like you just referenced with your son, you said earlier for a 3 that a 6 is their high, but the 9 is their low.
Meaning when the 3 is under stress, it goes to the 9. It shows the not so healthy parts of the 9. But when a 3 is doing great, they're accessing that 6. They are actually troubleshooters. They can see and assess, and they make quick decisions. 3s make great decisions on the fly. Like as leaders, you can see that. They can assess really quickly. They're quick thinkers. That's the 6, the strategic thinker, and now that they're able to access that information and operate really well in that. Yeah. I know those lines are a little confusing, and they do weekend seminars about just the lines. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Yes. Okay. So the 7 is the joyful person or the enthusiast. Some people call them the enthusiastic visionary. The 7s. They're joyful, they're entertaining, they are accomplished, they're uninhibited. They walk in the room and bring the temperature of the room up. They're fun, they're super fast thinkers. They are in the head, so it kind of is confusing. They are often misunderstood as being 2s because they are warm and friendly. They have charisma. Probably in Strength Finders world, they would have woo as one of their top strengths. They are impulsive, but it's a very calculated impulsiveness. They've thought through their impulsive nature, so that's not just, they're spontaneous. They are in their head forecasting opportunity. If you want to really make a 7 squirm, is you take away all their freedoms. They probably, the high level leaders that I've interacted with in organization, have a hard time when they're boxed in. If they can't have freedom to express themselves in other ways, they probably want a little business on the side. They can't just be here. They have to have all these options going on. They're very adventurous. They are known as to be foodies because they would probably know, like they like to experience all things. The guy that I told you that he thought he was a 2 and he's a 7, he loves to take people on experiences and watch them experience. He's like, his wife, he met her from Canada, and she had only stayed at Holiday Inn, and he thought, the world is before me. I'm going to show her so many greater places. She's going to love it. So he's taken her to great places, and he's just like, she's just a smorgasbord of experience for me because she just hasn't seen a lot. So he's a social 7. He's an amazing worship leader, but he loves taking people where he's already been. So he confused me because I thought he was a 4 because he's such a heart-led person. But anyway. Future focused is everything to a 7. They do not want to spend time talking about what happened last week. They actually avoid pain. They want to avoid pain in themselves. They do not want to discuss all of that. They just want to move on. Let's move on. Life is happy. Matter of fact, let's fill them with all the adventures I've already got planned. So they would probably have a hard time celebrating what just happened. They're already on to 4 or 5 steps ahead to the other adventures that are going on, the more exciting things that are ahead. So they want the freedom to be that. So their polarity is freedom or limitation. And if you start taking things from them, they're probably going to quit your organization quickly, or they're going to quit your team. Or if you're married to one and you're trying to hone them in, then I wouldn't think it would be great. I think that you would feel very limited by that. Their sin is gluttony, which I think is interesting. I was just listening to a podcast the other day talking about most 7s don't have weight issues, so it's not a gluttony like eating, although they want to experience everything. They're constantly looking for experiences, so they feed on experiences to avoid having to deal with painful things. So when we talked about conflict this morning, I would imagine these people would not be really eager to sit down with you for a very long time and discuss how you wounded them, or how they wounded you. It's just not going to be, it's probably going to be difficult for them. Okay, so let's see, they light up the room, appear to be full-hearted. honestly, there isn't, with them, even though they don't express it a lot, there's very few people that will express their deepest thoughts and desires, but it is down there. They have a deep reservoir of emotion. So their lie is it's not okay to depend on anyone for anything. This seems to be a constant lie for several people. It's not okay to depend on anyone for anything. And the truth that sevens need to hear is that you will be taken care of. You will be taken care of. Because in that perceived childhood, what are they? Some people call it childhood wound. It's really not a wound. I mentioned to you that it's like something they perceived to happen is that they were disconnected from their mom or dad and didn't get the need and care that they wanted. So there's something connected there with them feeling like they need to get that and fill it with stuff. Okay. They are also called the Peter Pan of the Enneagram. They're forever young. So I love that about them. Okay. Any sevens in the room? I knew it. You're happy people. You're so happy. We love you. Okay, so this front table up here, sevens up here. What'd you draw?
Ocean, sands, palm trees, birds, sun.
Okay. Very good. It's all happy.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, next table back.
Adventures, oceans, exercise, friendships, influencing, children, leading. Lots of people are in.
Happy.
Sun.
I drew sunshine, birds, trees, my family.
Yep.
I didn't finish because I don't know how to draw.
All right. This next table, is there any sevens here? Okay, very good.
I drew growing vines and flowers.
Very good. I love it. No sevens at this table here. Okay, go to the back. Yep.
I drew like a river go flow with hearts like expanding out.
I love it. Any more sevens at that table? No? Next table over. Yes, ma'am.
I did it a couple years ago, and I'm a 7. I'm definitely, when I read stuff on 7, I'm like, I'm definitely a 7, but then I just did it, and I'm a 9. But I have a lot of craziness going on in my life, so I don't know if because when it said answer questions for now, if that's why. So I don't know what I am. I'm confused.
Well, you can wait till we get to 9 and you can see, but if you feel, what'd you draw?
I drew a sun, people, a heart, an airplane, animals. Tons of animals.
Well, I think too, if you took it fast, if you took the assessment fast, it could be, I don't know. You just have to dive in and figure it out. We'll get to 9 and see.
Okay.
We have another person who thinks it can be 9. Okay.
I'm not gonna be able to take it, but I feel like I'm totally a 7.
Okay.
I'll let you know what
That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
But I drew a butterfly
Ah.
because I just like to be free.
Yes.
Something as simple as not having a car, like I would die because if I have not be able to go anywhere or jump in my car and just go,
That's
like that
awesome.
would bother me.
So awesome. I love it.
That
I
is
love
amazing.
it. Okay, so on to the 8s. They're called the powerful person, also known as a challenger, controller, which sounds so negative, but that's not true. There's some great positive qualities. These are self-confident people. They're decisive. They're just. And they're a leader. They say some of the, any of the Enneagram numbers obviously can be leaders. It's not home just to but with the assessment that I'm connected to, a lot of executive CEO leaders are either a 3, a 7, or an 8. One team, executive team, they are all 3s and 1 8 on that team. So of 6 executive leaders. So I think it's just, there's something about them that exudes and are able to, that decisiveness, they just are dominant. They have a lot of energy. 8s are very intense people. They are, they want to experience intensity of all things. Their neighbor is the 7, which is adventure and opportunity. And so my husband is an 8 with a wing of 7, and his second highest number is 8 too on the whole Enneagram, whereas mine is a 6. So he is a lot of 7 and 8. So that adventurous spirit is definitely there. Everything to them is right or wrong, true or false, friend or foe. There's no gray area. Similar to the 1, it's black or white. Theirs is more, the difference between an 8 and 1 in that is 8s just shoot from the hip. 1s are a little bit more calculated. And theirs is more moral, this is just what's right, I mean, this is just the justice of it. If someone's been treated unfairly. People on their teams, on 8's teams, feel very protected because they will go down for their people. They actually probably, as a leader, would probably need to evaluate, are they able to hear correct, constructive criticism about their team, because they would be so defensive. If I was an 8, Amy's on my team, and someone came against her, I'd be like, you don't know, I mean, it gets, you don't know Amy like I know. I mean, it could be like, no, that's it. And you're like, hey, I was just trying to tell you, we had a little experience with Amy, and you're just like, no, you didn't. The only experience you had was good, and that's what I want to hear about right now. So, they're described as a marshmallow wrapped in barbed wire. They're very hard on the outside, but soft, big old teddy bears. They're the first to just go, they're just great protectors. The interesting thing is 2s want to be protected and 8s protect. So this is why they find each other. So, but that is the most common match of marriages is 8s and 2s. So, their polarity is strength or vulnerability. They're either strong or they're completely vulnerable. The weird thing is they're all 8s are trying to get in touch with their vulnerable side, and it comes out in this really weird way. Like James loved Christmas time Hallmark Christmas movies. He's like, there's a new one coming on. We're like, that's our that's the marshmallow. So, but he doesn't fully cry. He wells, but he will totally well through. I'm like, it's the same story. With different colored hair over and over. Our whole family thinks it's hysterical. He totally had a full-on 30-minute conversation with a girlfriend about Hallmark. I was like, I can't. So, they are, let's see, right or wrong, they're the most driving. You think a 3 is they want to achieve, but 8s are driving. They're so action-oriented. They're pushing ahead. They're looking at what's next. There's no time to wait. Their sin, which is weird, is lust, but it's not necessarily sexual lust. It's just a lust for intensity. Whatever they're doing, whatever task is at hand, it wants to be intense. Their relationships are intense. And it doesn't mean intense in a good or bad way, they just are. James, my husband, is a self-pez one, which looks, the 1-on-1 8 is the strong, that 1-on-1 8, remember the subtypes? 1-on-1 8 and 1-on-1 4 are probably the hardest characters to deal with. I mean, they're very strong personalities. They have a lot of edges to smooth off. James actually, so he gives me permission to do this, but as an 8 leader, he was oblivious about 6 years ago to his lack of empathy. He suffered with not having empathy. He has, I don't know if you're familiar with EQI testing, it's another assessment that it assesses that he's high assertive, low empathy, not a good match. So he had, for the last 6 years, he's been working on empathy, and he's increased substantially, but he would be in a meeting and literally think he was bringing clarity, decisive, hate that idea, love that one, let's go. So you're like, someone's in a fetal position, sucking that Jeez, there's like bodies. I didn't see it. If they have a problem, they'll come around and talk to me about it. No, this is not how this works. This is not how any of this works. So, especially as a pastor, you can't go around doing that kind of stuff. You gotta look like, I'm like, we're in the hospital, pray. This is the time to pray. He's like, oh yes, we're here to pray. So I'm like, come here, come on, brother. So, but they do lack. They're not very connected to their heart at all, and they're trying, but they just aren't. And so you have to give them grace. If you see an 8 trying to bring it down, if they are at a 10 and they come down to 8, they've done a lot of work. You know, they really have. Just give it to them and just understand that it isn't a reason. He can't say, "Oh, I'm just an 8. I'm gonna behave this way." He has to learn to calm it down, or he's going to destroy ambulatory teams, he's not going to be able to lead. So he actually this year, he works on one intense thing a year. This year he's working on body language. He sends out feedback, emails to people that don't like him. They really don't like him, and they're like, what do you think I'm doing good, and what do you think I should learn? So they fall hard. 8s fall very hard, but they fly further than any other number. They don't care hearing the hard things. So someone told him his body language was horrible, and he's like, good, I'll work on that. He's got body language books. He's working on his body language, his face, and he's this all the time. Like my kids are like, he's angry. He's not angry. He's just this resting face. So you know exactly where he is at all times. There's no mystery. Okay, these people are great people. So the lie they believe, it's not okay to be weak and vulnerable. That's the lie they believe. And the truth they need to hear is you don't have to be strong to be loved. Okay. So, okay, do we have 8s in the room?
Yes.
Yay! 1 8. 2, what, just your 8? 2 8? Yeah. Actually, at lunch today, I was like, I wonder about this girl.
Oh, no.
Yes.
That's why I'm like over here laughing.
Picking up over on you, it's like, you
Okay.
described me to me on point.
Okay, so what'd you draw? Miss
I
Lee?
just drew my family and a heart, like my kids. No, my kids are my heart.
That's good. That's a marshmallow girl.
I guess I'm drawing on my 7. I drew rainbows and sunshine.
Well, look at you. You probably are. Maybe you're a wing of 7. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And I own several businesses. I help people build their business. I'm always like, yeah, I just did a lot of things in a small amount of time.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, they actually,
Super efficient.
yes, yeah. They actually are amazing leaders. I personally love working for 8s because I know exactly, I do, as a 6, a high 6, I do not like ambiguity. I like clear high structure. And then my 2 with the wing of 1, I'm like, this airy, whatever, I need 8s, give it to you, you know the wind, you're gonna do it, it's easy to accomplish. It's not watery or confusing, so I think they're great leaders, yeah. So they can hurt people if not careful. Yes. Okay, so 2 8s. That was the only 2 8s? Very good. Okay, so we're on the last of 9, and then we'll have a few minutes for questions. So the 9 is the peacemaker, the peaceful person. These people are the sweetheart of the Enneagram. So you 9s that put a little heart, or if you're wondering if you are, if you're struggling to know if you're a 9, they're very warm. They are reassuring. They're complacent. They value harmony and unity and wholeness. They're the person who can have 5 people in an argument and they can identify with all 5. They can see all 5 people's point of view. They do like to. They do avoid conflict. So they can be, if we're talking about what we talked about earlier, is they can be peacemakers. They're called peacemakers, but they can be pretending peace, not the reality of peace. It just has the appearance of peace. When emotionally healthy, they are patient, steady, receptive, relaxed, self-aware, and proactive. They are essential to the world of helping us handle conflict because they actually can see and be very objective and identify with everyone's place in it. So their polarity is it's either peace or it's conflict. There's not really a middle. What I think would be a very torturous thing, which I know one girl, is a 9 with an 8 wing. Because these people are, I don't even know why they're by each other. You know, the 8 and the 9 are like they couldn't be more opposite. The interesting thing that connects them is anger. But you're thinking 9, peaceful person, angry. They are likened to a volcano. It is stewing down here, and when it comes up and comes out, they've caught themselves by surprise, and everyone in the room. It could be 3 years before the volcano erupts, but when it does, it's angry and loud. And so they really tap into that 8 partner over there. So
dear friend and coworker that's a 9, and that is true of her. I've seen her explode, and it's unusual. It's like really weird, like where did that come from? You're so nice. What happened? I hope I wasn't a part of it. The interesting thing, the animal totem that goes with them, each of them have an animal totem, but is an elephant, because they are stubborn and unmovable, because they cannot make decisions. They get indecisive, they get lethargic and lazy. They could veg out on Netflix binging for 3 days. So, which is interesting for the 3, because the 3 is push, 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 push. And if they actually access the relaxed nature, be able to enjoy nature, 9s usually love being outside and running outside. They notice the trees. That, you know, my friend notices every single day. I'm like, I didn't pay attention to that, but that's cool. So, but they can get the inertia, stubborn, not moving. They actually can get detached. Like in a meeting, they will just go out. They're not there. They're lost. They're not with you. So they look actually just discontented sometimes because they're detached. But that's if there's conflict in the room, they're retreating. They are going away. So there's a lot of sparring. Now, she actually works directly for my husband in 8. And I find it very interesting sometimes. Bethany Cush is a 9, and so thankfully, my husband has got some sense about him and is aware. So in the meeting, they have a lot to say, but they will not say anything unless called upon, because they feel like they're taking up all the oxygen in the room. They feel like they're just talking heads, which they're not. So one of the things that James has done is at the end of the meeting, he'll say, Bethany, did you have anything to add? And usually she has a litany of things that are incredibly valuable. But if he wouldn't have asked, she wouldn't have said a thing. So she's going to sit there and be quiet. So they're not assuming, they're not cocky people, probably very humble. But what they know, we need to know it, because it's just hanging out in there, and they're not going to be all out there with it, like maybe some other numbers. So their sin is slothfulness. They're actually hard workers, but they just slothfulness. But they just get, to avoid conflict, they just get relationally negligent, like, oh, there's conflict, I'm just going to pretend it's not there. They're really peace-faking, so they have to be really careful that they're not peace-fakers. The lie 9s believe that it's not okay to be bold and assert yourself. They think they can't be bold, that's out there, and it just is a lot for them to do that, but they need to know that your presence and opinion matters. So they need to speak up. If you have a 9 in your life, you need to ask them. They need to learn to speak up, but you also need to ask them. So they need to hear your presence and opinion matters. They go with the flow. They don't rock the boat. Yeah. Harmonious. Okay, so any 9s in the room? 1, 2, 2 9, 3 9s. Okay. I mean, what'd you draw? If you didn't draw it, okay? What'd you draw?
And then ocean, and then dress, and then vine, and cross.
Love nature and water and the same and the bow.
Yes. Awesome. I love it. They actually say they're great designers. I don't know if that's true or not. Just like aesthetically, to set a room and make a room feel nice.
Yes, that between the 4 and the 9.
Ah, very cool. Back there to the 9.
I did like helping hand with a heart, like love.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so what do you do with this? What do you do with all this information? Like you're overwhelmed with this stuff, just a bunch of information. So the idea is like what your number is in your whatever your number is what do you read? Not even going into the layers of subtypes and all that stuff, but just what you understand, or you can read on. I don't know if we can email out a couple of links to everybody that I would recommend just places to go. To find out information, but it's reading those things, and I actually look at the shadow things. I don't always look at all the positive. I'm like, that's awesome, but if I want to grow, I'm going to look at what it is that's typical of a 2. So it's developing, and this isn't prescriptive. It's kind of like you have to think about these things. So whatever that is think of how you can work against that. For example, I went to a party 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a very special party of someone that I really loved. And I started no one even noticed that I was in the kitchen. And I was in there cleaning, they're all having fun, and I didn't even hear the speaker, what they said about my friend. And so it dawned on me, I actually obviously got over it, but when I came to the realization of it too, is no one asked me to clean the kitchen. No one even asked me to go in there and do that. I just did it because I wanted to help. But then I held them accountable to something that they're like, don't even ask me to do it. So I was all worked up and tied up in something when it wasn't even something anyone asked me. And I started realizing I clean a lot of kitchens at parties. So this New Year's Eve, I went, we're going to a party. I didn't tell James. I'm like, I clean in the kitchen. I'm not picking up a dish. And it was so hard for me. I was sitting there going, are people thinking I'm selfish? Like, I'm clearing tables at a restaurant. I'm the person stacking everything and handing it. Like, please. So it's just a simple practice like that of going, I'm not going to clean. So this is, I mean, I know it can get more complex, but it's just going, what is it that I do that really causes me frustration? Asking yourself, reflecting, what is that about me? Is it connected with my number? Is it connected with the shadow side of my number? What can I do to reverse it? And so I think that's the way you have to think about it. And I think me accessing 8 in a positive way is being decisive, collecting information and being able to make a decision and move with it and go, you know what, if it isn't the best decision, we'll learn. 8s they're not afraid to fail, so that's it.
Yeah, when you say the shadow, is that like?
Negative.
The negative.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a better way of saying negative. The unhealthy, the shadow side, so we bring light into the world, but our light casts a shadow into the world, so.
And what are when we have the wings? How, I don't know.
Okay, so
what do they play in?
Okay, so I'm a 2, so my wing is either a 1 or a 3. So even if I didn't take an assessment and I hear about the 3, I resonate with the 1 so much, because my order and my perfectness and me wanting to be perfect and everything to be perfect is just painful. So I know that I resonate with the 1 more than I do the 3. So that's all it is. So literally, you can make this decision yourself, unless you're really split. But there's no split for me. I know that I'm not good. But then I tested out, and my wing is a 3. So that's what it is. You're just going to have some more dominant characteristics or motivations of that number. Yes, ma'am.
That should fall into the subtypes again.
Yes. Yes, yeah, I sure will. So 3 subtypes apply to all numbers, makes it 27 numbers. The 3 subtypes that we all have to identify with, regardless of our number, is self-preservation, I-focused, making sure I have everything I need, enough rest, enough food, enough money, enough shelter, I-focused, self-preservation. Then there's the one-on-ones, which is one-on-one relationships, it's an intensity. They are measuring, how's this relationship going? Does it have all that it needs? And if they're unhealthy, it can be consuming. It can be like, oh, too much. But all in all, they're just very great one-on-one people. And then there's the social, which is thinking about us. So they have more of a, how are we all going to get to do this? The hierarchy of the organization. I want to know how the org chart looks. Who am I going to get to know? I'm going to strategize and get to know those people. So self-pres, I-focus, one-on-one, we-focus, social, us-focused. And that actually, before wings, would be the most next level thing that you could actually dive into is just reading on that. Again, since I have y'all's emails, I can just send you a little description and you can kind of just process it. I think really right now just getting used to your number, the strengths and the shadows of that is probably a great place to start and not dive into that. I just go, that is why people get mistyped, is those subtypes make all numbers look different. That's where people mistype. Like, so am I a 6 or am I a 7? Am I a 9 or am I, your subtype will probably make sense. That's what it is. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
So, sorry, all along I thought these lines of development were the wings.
Okay,
but
they're not.
They're not.
No, wings
so
are on
really
either side.
Okay. So you're saying if you have wings, you have some of those characteristics?
That's correct.
I thought that the lines of development,
No, the lines of development, if you're under stress, remember how I said, if I'm under stress, I display the negative qualities of an 8 if I'm under stress. So why the 8? It's just the way it is. It's just the pattern of the Enneagram.
But how do you know that for each number?
Well, I gave it to you on your diagram down there. Stress and release, stress and release. So release is healthy, stress is unhealthy. Yeah. I really should change it. So that's what that is. There are also things that you can grow in those numbers of moving to the top part of those numbers with higher qualities of them. So yes, those lines are unrelated to the wings. Yep.
So what can you assess and learn with the lines?
So, well, for example, if whatever your stress side is, whatever, if you go read up on the 9, and you read up on the negative qualities of a 9, they'll pull away under stress and conflict sometimes. Whatever those negative qualities are, Amy, those, if you see those in your life, those are red flags to you that you're not in a good place. You need to kind of assess where you are. So, but you need to actually move to the higher qualities of a 9, because as a 3, you need those things. That the ability to be at peace and rest and have space and enjoy nature and be outside and take it in, have a window overlooking the ocean maybe. So,
okay, so that's what I think we're going to do.
So you start at the 3 and then go and follow the 6.
Let me grab mine.
Because, yeah, that's what I'm asking. So is it?
So you're at.
If you have a 9 and a 6, are you saying that?
Well, you're
the
three,
high-
okay, so hold up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you're going to focus right here on 3. So this is good for me to learn that you guys can see this. This represents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the 3, you're stressed to the 9. 3, you're released. Yes. All that matters. You don't need to worry about the arrow. You just need to worry about what says stress and release. That's the only thing you need to worry about. Yes. You go to the best qualities. So
best qualities with what?
Of 6. You would go to the best qualities of 6. When you're healthy and doing well, you're able to troubleshoot, do great things. So this is you go to if you read all the 6 qualities, the high, beautiful qualities, that's what you do in peace. But under stress, you go to 9. That is, I think what would have helped is that this would have had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
So you don't need to look at any other thing but your number. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. That helps. Yes, ma'am.
In relationships, are you better off with, like, the 3, if you're dating a 9 or a 6? Is that the more compatible partner, or is that not together on that?
I think some numbers, like I would love to see that a 7 was married to a 4. I think that would be absolutely clear for that, but I think that happens. Because the 7 is so happy and a 4 is so melancholy, I just can't imagine that like working, but I'm sure it does. But there are numbers that find each other, like I mentioned, that happen more often. 3s and 9s actually find each other often. My friend who's a 9, she's married to a 3, and they really help complement each other very well on how to relax. He has energy, but he doesn't press her to do that because she doesn't have that kind of energy she is. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Just like a backup question to that, do you believe from these studies that compatibility and certain numbers do matter for successful marriages and relationships? Because someone recently debated with me that they said, I don't know if it's Bachman or someone says compatibility makes no difference in the success of a relationship. Do you believe from this that it does?
Well, I don't know that I'm an expert enough to actually answer that question, but I would say it doesn't matter what. I think what works is that you're sensitive, you're empathetic to the person you're married to. So for me to tell James he needs to settle down all the time, that's an unrealistic expectation. That's not going to work. He's always going to be strong, but he cannot talk to me about being emotional and my feelings and needing to process and talk that, or like, well, you're always helping people, stop doing that, you won't be stressed. I mean, that wouldn't go well, so I think it's just awareness of all numbers and who you're in relationship to.
You said something about 3, 6, and 9 being like special that they could.
Okay, so 3, 6, and 9 are what they call the anchor numbers. The interesting thing is the 3 is in the middle of the heart. The 6 is in the middle of the head. and the 9 is the middle of the body. So they're in the middle and they're most disconnected with their area. So the 3 is the most disconnected with their heart. The 6 is most disconnected with their head and thinking. They overthink. It's not good. And the 9 is the least of the 3 numbers to act. These people, they don't act a lot. They're not embodied, you know. So 8s are acting. 1 act because they need to get things done. But 9s they're so that actually makes more sense than these others. It's not that 3s don't connect to what they need. Warmth or relationship or would be a little bit more of a stretch for them. It's not that it's not, because they're obviously in the heart center. But yeah, they're just different. And there's unique qualities about the 3 of those numbers, just being unique in that respect, that they are at the center of their different centers, but they're the most disconnected from the center they're in. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot to read on that. That's about the end of what I know on that one. So. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. I have a little card on there on the table for Enneagram stuff. If you want to reach out to me for any kind of information or websites, I will tell you, if you want to jot down right now, is Sleeping at Last is a podcast that you would love. It's very creative. It goes through all 9 numbers. The songs he writes are about the numbers, so you want to look up your song. It's your number. He has other music that he's writing, but he wrote a song on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Sleeping at Last is the name of it. And then I think that's a good start. It's a great podcast to listen to. But you can listen to all the numbers and learn a lot about them. So yep. So, but then you have my email there if you have any questions, and I'll make sure I shoot out some stuff to you guys to read. Oh, I have a giveaway. Okay, so who said they had read the Road Back to You? Who read that? Raise your hand high. There's just one of you. One? Okay, you're the winner of this. Is the kind of the next level. Have you read Sacred Enneagram?
I started it.
Okay, so I'm not going to give it to you. That's not a good thing. So, who is E? Oh, let's see. Gosh, Amy, help me. How am I going to figure this out? Did someone say something? Let's see. I wanted to know, did we have a number that there was only one person in here that was that number? Yeah. Who was that? We had multiple 7s. We had 4s and 5s. We had lots of 3s.
We had only 2 8s.
I did 2 8.
Ones. How many ones do we have? We had several ones.
There was 2.
Okay. Yes. Sorry, I'm struggling. Okay.
Or why don't you quiz us on something you just taught us? Like the quality of one of the numbers, and we have to guess it.
I think that's not fair to make you have an assignment.
Okay, so this is the deal, which is my always go to, is whose birthday is closest to this day.
We did that earlier.
We did that earlier. No, that was. There are more people in the room, so. Gosh.
Who lives the furthest away?
Oh, who lives the furthest away?
I'm in Coral Springs.
I'm in West Boca, but I already won a book, so.
Coral Springs.
Which is closer? I don't know. Coral Springs or Palm Bay?
I think Palm Bay is closer to here.
Coral Springs is further.
Coral Springs is.
Two books to read. Road Back to You. Road Back to You is probably a first level book to read. Ian Cron, I-A-N-C-R-O-N, Road Back to You. Road Back to You, Ian Cron. Road Back to You, Ian Cron, I-N-A-N Cron. Okay, then the second was what I just gave away, The Sacred Enneagram by Chris Hurwitz. Chris, you can snap a picture of her book. All right, I'm available. I was actually going to make myself available during your reflection time for the first maybe 30 minutes or so to see if anyone had any questions. Otherwise, Miss Amy, do you have announcements to make? The The Sacred Enneagram by Chris Hurley. H-E-U-R-T-Z. I don't know. Thank you guys for allowing me to. Thank you.
Here.
The first thing we're going to do is silent auction. Did anybody unless you really want to. Did anyone not get to see it? I know we had the ladies come in a little bit later. Did anyone not get to see the silent auction that wanted to? Oh, yeah. Ruby, thank you. So our party includes a basket. The winner is Natasha Cole. The professional golf lesson is Roshane. And then the PGA National Hotel and Spa is Heidi. But she was just here last night. And then Delray Beach Spa is Amy. Amy, did you hear that? Huh? Oh, yeah. She was sitting next to me. So immediately after this, you have personal reflection time until 6:30. You can reflect wherever you want to reflect. If you have any, do you get notifications for video?
Yeah, right in the hallway, but they can hang out here and then.
Okay, so if you have, you notice we have a videographer taking videos with us, and so one of the things.
Give it up for Benny!
That we'd love to hear from you is your feedback about the weekend, just kind of like a testimonial about what you're learning, what your favorite parts have been, if you had a chance to connect with some new women, or just some, some takeaways that you've gotten so far from our weekend. Yes?
Did you take the group picture?
Yeah, we are going to do that immediately after. It's not, we didn't want to miss everyone that wasn't here too, so we just had to wait till y'all here. So yes, just hang out in this room, and then we're going to get the video set up, and then we can go as a group to that area, so you're not wandering around the video cameras. So if you would like to do that, we'd love to have your feedback. Just hang out in
It
this
can be
room.
really quick, just like a quick,
Yeah. Dinner is going
Benny,
to
do you want them to, is it easier for you to go in the hallway where you're going to be? Okay, actually, I'm sorry, we'll change that. So if you would like to do a quick
Whoever wants to
testimonial-
be on the testimony.
Yeah, just right there in the hallway right there where the little chairs are, like literally right there.
Dinner is going to be after your personal reflection time in this room. We'll have the buffet set up in the back, so we'll be in this room. You can wear whatever you have on. If you go out to the beach and you
Camera. No, you don't have. You can say whatever you want.
Hey, I'm Debbie Ellis, and I live here in Stewart. I'm here in the Hutchinson Island Hutchinson Shores Spa Resort at our.
You want to start over?
Yes, I forgot where I was. Okay, so I know there's a Hutchinson Island Resort too. So Hutchinson Shores.
You could just say, what's the name of the event?
Refresh Retreat.
Yeah, you just say
Okay.
that. So.
All right, ready? Okay. I'm Debbie Ellis, and I live here in Stewart, and I'm here at the Refresh Retreat here out in Hutchinson Island, and I am just so ecstatic and fascinated with this whole retreat. I got to meet ladies here that I've never met before, except for one or two, and I'm just so connected with women empowering each other and how we're learning about what we're driven by, what we're motivated by, and how we live our lives and how we keep that all in balance in our faith, our families, and our careers, and how that's going to live our lives out to find that inner peace that we have to bring that out into the world. And I'm just so glad to be here. And it's been a beautiful weekend and meeting 36 new women in my life. And have a great day.
You were on point. I know what my highlights have been. Should I talk just about my highlights?
Yeah, whatever. You can speak about whatever you want. Come this way a little bit.
And
There you
I
go.
don't have to say my name, right?
If you
Or
don't
I
want to.
can, or everyone has to say their names, or.
Just say whatever you want to say. Start. Boom.
Go for it. Hi, I'm Joe Perez-Dubois, and I am so blessed to have been here at this Refresh Retreat. You know, going into this weekend, I really didn't know what to expect or how I would feel or if I would have any emotions that I didn't expect. I was pretty calm, and I was listening and just really taking it all in. And then it was during one of the exercises when one of the women came up to me, had my eyes closed, and she put both of her hands on me, and she said, "You are enough." And I just lost it. Was not expecting to cry, was not expecting to feel that type of emotion. So being here just really has unpacked just some words, some motivation, some thoughts, some encouragement that I didn't even know that I needed in my life. Later on that same day, I found myself on the beach by myself, about to eat lunch, just kind of reflecting on the day. And here comes these new women that I met. And they came around me, they joined me, and we just had the most amazing lunch, sitting by the ocean and just getting to know each other. It was so special. And what I experienced here at Refresh is going to be something that I'm going to take with me for many years to come.
That was good.
Oh, that was great. I told you.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Thank you for giving me the tools, the vocabulary, and so many other valuable and tangible things that I can use to flourish and grow in my life, personally, professionally, and overall.
Thank you. They just talked about what they experienced, and first they introduced themselves, and then they just talked about what.
Okay, I'm ready to go. Hi, I'm Monica Buckley. I just wanted to say I have just taken away so much from this retreat this weekend, and I think it's awesome how there's so many different women from so many different walks of life. You have moms, non-moms, young, old, and everyone's just being poured into and learning things about themselves that they may have heard before, and now they're hearing it in a new way, or they're in a different season of their life. But I think that everything we've learned in the classes and the training, it's just so incredible to see the variety, but also how it's able to impact our lives in so many different ways, whether it's in our business, in our relationships, in our marriage, and with our kids. There's so many different ways that we are able to apply it, and I'm very grateful for Amy and Lisa just taking the time to pour into us this weekend, and for Amy just to have this vision to make it happen and come to life. And I'm excited for the future and what else we are going to pour into. So we're about to go to our personal reflection time, and I'm looking forward to that because there's been so much knowledge that we've had, and just ways that we're able to learn about ourselves differently and how to apply that, and also how to work with other people. I think that maybe we're very self-aware, but we're not aware of how to work with others who are different than us. So all of that has just been so incredible, and I'm so excited for next year and the years to come, and just to learn more. So I hope to see you next. Bye. Is that what I'm supposed to do? Like when I talk, like. Go whenever.
Hold on. Okay.
This has just been such an amazing retreat, such a eye-opening experience in understanding who I am. Everyone just keeps talking about understanding who they are, and relating to other people and to themselves and to God. And it really does take time to just get away, to reflect. The Enneagram test, I really didn't know too much about before, and it's been so eye-opening. I learned that I'm 7, and it just explains so much about who I am, and there's wings and all kinds of different things that you can learn about the Enneagram, but there's just so much that you can learn by taking that time, getting away, reflecting, and if you want to come to something like this, I really encourage you to do it because it's amazing.
Thank you.